Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight, Tuesday night edition. And Geraldine Orozco is back with the Spiritual You. We'll connect with Geraldine here momentarily. But first, we get to say hello to each and every one of you. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. The lovely and talented Kira taking home a silver. Robert Lamoth with a nice bronze medal tonight. Hi there, Light Walkers and Roy Boy. Dino Bravo fan. John Mellon, nice return. How you doing? Karen in the Woo Train. What is up? Canna Chef Chris, Jennifer Patterson, Sonny J Shores is here. Sonny J will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Aaron Baca, how you doing? Lee the Beam, Thurston Howell the Third at Puck Elf. Good to see you. Ruth Kleber, thanks for coming on in. My man Obi Flett has returned from hiatus, and Obi Flett will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Continuing on, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Stephen Giles, SOR for life. Thank you, my man. Welcome to the chat room. Sharon Gee, how you doing? Mark Sanchez, how's your Hawaiian shirts? Jenny Whitebear, D. Cohen, JSCO, good to see you all. And there he is, number 22 in your program, starting on right wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jonsson. Paul Demon, how you doing, man? Mama Catherine. Mwah, this one's for you, my dear. Mama Catherine and Charlie just signing up as VIPs for the 3rd annual Spaced Out Radio Fan Party, May 10th through 12th in Reno, Nevada's Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. Thank you for that. Dragonfly, how you doing? And there's Desert Rat and Kurt M. Kimberly Kelly, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for coming on in. As we continue on with roll call, purple-haired Pixie Lara. Acreon, how you doing? Long time, no time. Hope you're doing well. Marty Burback, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Sandra Kincaid and Mac Geek. Good to see you both. Amy, Vegas. Oh, I love Amy. She's the best. She's tall, too. She's like that much taller than me. That much taller. And Matthew Goodka, Nick Adkins, and Jimmy Gonzalez. Good to see you all. Mama Susan, thanks for coming on in. And who else do we got here? Eternity Eternal, Road Flare, Little Cam over on Twitch. How you doing? Good morning, Skip to Malou and Joanne. Good to see you both. David Hayworth, welcome. Ozzy Ange, how are you? Little Timmy Senor, there he is. He's back in the chat room. Obi, make that gong show. How you doing? Crystal J, good to see you. Sweet Donna C, thank you for coming on in. And Laura Lobbs. And who else do we have here? Political Foolishness. How you doing? John P. Adventures. Good to see you. And let's see. Welsh Hammer. Chris. Teen, how you doing? Thank you for coming on in. And Flat Six. Cliff Sy. Good to see you both. Paisley Parker. Thank you for joining us. Oh, Geraldine's hair is looking fantastic tonight. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Travis DeLuca, Spider Grandmother, Driftwood, good to see you all. And Chrono Trigger, good to see you here. And let's get the radio side going, shall we? That way we can say hello to everybody listening in on the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio. Geraldine Orozco is our guest. The Spiritual You is the show du jour. We're having a good time with Roll Call. There's Bill WD-40 already lubing it up for tonight's show. Mentira, how you doing? And Susan Alloway, thank you for joining us. And we are caught out 5DRG. Good to see you. Remember, Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Also, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. Nothing ugly. You're going to actually want to wear our clothing out in public. Philip Baca, how you doing? Nice to see you. It is that time of the night where we start to bring things down. We lower the lights. Scadman, how are you? And we say, do us all a favor. Get those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A great show to kick off the new year tonight from Bay Area Meditation. Geraldine Orozco will join us here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton joins us for Among the Missing. Super Duke returns for the new year with the Crypted Report. Oh, it's always good to kick off a brand new year with our good friend Geraldine Orozco. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. And for the last number of years, she has been researching the role of DNA as the currency of both the past, the present, as well as the future, with consciousness as the catalyst. Since her own experiences in 2013 really erupted her new life, and then in 2017 underwent several hypnotic regressions to figure out what was going on, Geraldine has become a mainstay within the community on helping people discover their own paths, their own health, their own wisdom, and even their own ET contact. Let's bring her in now. Geraldine Orozco, it is always a pleasure to have you here. Happy New Year to you. And your hair looks absolutely stunning tonight. I know our radio audience can't see it, but wow, your hair is perfect tonight.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here, Dave, and you look fantastic too. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everyone.
You're right. I do. Even with my long beard that I got going on, I am raffling it off for our fan party in Reno, and I know you're going to be there, okay? But I am raffling off my beard that weekend.
That's fantastic.
And
that's going to be fun to see.
So whoever pays the most amount, what we're going to do is they're going to get to shave my beard, and after they shave my beard, we're going to take that money down to a roulette table. We're going to put it on black or red. And then we're going to donate. If we win, we're going to donate 100% back to them.
Wow, that's a very interesting concept. Where did you come up with that? Is that a trend?
Just got to have some fun, right?
Love it. That's great. Well, good that you're doing it for the betterment of some humanity.
Exactly. How you been? How was your holiday season?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It was a very interesting last 3 months of the year. And yeah, this year is going to be, again, another year of very exciting projects and getting ready to get back to work. How about you?
you know what? It is rolling over the calendar and trying to figure out, we have to actually this coming weekend we'll be having our team meeting and what worked in 2023 and what didn't work and what can we change for 2024. I think it's going to be a very positive year. I just have a feeling it's going to be extremely positive and I'm trying new things here. Trying new things. Want to be more positive in life.
Um,
I'm
that's
I'm losing weight, which is good again. Thank you to my hardcore water here that I now drink. And
Yay! This year you made major changes. Last year you made major changes, Dave, and it shows. And this year you're going to continue that transformation. I'm so excited for you. You are an example to the community, truly.
oh yeah, well, if you saw my waistline right now, you'd be like, Dave, maybe you need to, spend an hour a night, maybe get up an hour earlier every morning and go for a walk. But you know what? I will say this.
Self-love, most important.
That's right. I will say this though. I still have not worn a heavy jacket this winter.
Really? And I don't want to know the numbers that you're getting up there, temperature numbers, the
Well,
negative numbers.
Well, it's -2 Celsius right now, so that's about minus
Oh,
30, or no, it's about 30 Fahrenheit right now.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
So not
we're waiting for the
horrible.
snow. We're waiting for the snow because my yard has no snow in it. Never
Oh,
has that
wow.
happened. No snow.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
so this week it's supposed to start dumping, and hopefully it dumps the hell out of about 4 feet. That's what I want. 4 feet of snow. I'm manifesting 4 feet of snow.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, it's going to come. Actually, it's been very cold down here in the Bay Area, and we have had incredible waves. I don't know if you guys heard about the powerful waves that were coming in here into the town. I live right on the coast, and we were just getting drenched with massive 20-foot plus waves. And yeah, it
Oh,
was interesting. So hopefully that doesn't continue, otherwise we're in trouble. So
I've never seen waves that big.
I'm gonna be swimming pretty soon.
That's actually kind of scary. That is actually kind of scary because all it takes is one rogue wave to go over, and then all of a sudden you got sharks feeding on people on the streets and going into restaurants and feeding on the food there. I mean, you're in Shark Central right there. You really are.
That's true. That's true. But
You
we're
know,
connected with nature, trying to be one with nature, and everything is divine alignment. So completely open to the flow of this universe, whatever it's going to bring.
my dear, if a shark looked at you, they're bypassing you because you're way too tiny to be a meal.
You're
Okay?
funny. Oh my God.
Y-
That's
You are
hilarious.
way too tiny to be a meal. They're gonna check out your fashionable shoes. They're gonna say, "Hey, lady, nice shoes." As they swim on by and they look for somebody like me, say, "Hey, that's a meal. There's some there's some cheeseburgers in there. We got to have that." That's what's gonna go on.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, good. Well, at least we have that going.
Yeah, I'll take one for the team for you. I'll be the shark meal. That's right.
Okay. Well, hopefully they come around the time when you're here. Otherwise, I'm out of luck.
Oh, that just scared me. That just actually put a chill down my spine when you said that.
No, no, not at all. Not at all.
Well, brand new year, brand new resolutions that people have, and brand new ideas that people have of what they're going to do to make their lives more fulfilling and richer this year. Do you believe in New Year's resolutions?
You know what? I believe in constantly having resolutions, constantly revisiting resolutions, and really, I think at the point that we're at, and so well, what's really interesting, what I want to talk about today also is that, we're at the very beginning of some powerful, powerful, uh, fast moving changes in the next 3 up to 10 years. In the next 10 years now, we're going into a new phase. Okay. So the last year was kind of transition. This year is like, this is where it starts. And the whole point of this preparation of the past 4 or 5 years were to be able to come into a deeper sense of surrender, reconnection with the self. And so what that means is that you're kind of reassessing yourself all the time to understand where you're at, what you need, and focusing on that personal development to pull yourself forward. And remember that this spiritual evolution, this journey of spiritual evolution, is not just an individual job. It's not really anymore just about our one individual self. And that's something that we're moving forward into, is a more universal awareness, universal consciousness, where we understand that every choice that we make is actually affecting a collective. And if you can think about that, you think about your loved ones, your children, and humanity and nature, how you are impacting all of these areas of our collective, environment. There's another level of looking at our choices, and we're not falling back into those cycles of unconscious behavior. So in terms of resolution, try to set up monthly resolutions for yourself. Don't make a year-long resolutions, and check in weekly to what changes you want to make, and focus on embodiment. Embodiment has been a really big deal over the past 3 years. Are you being authentic? Are you being true with yourself? And are you embodying those truths? Or, are you not congruent with your thoughts, intentions, and actions? Because that's where people get in trouble. And it's not just about, let's say, a diet or a health or a meditation practice. It's with major life choices in life. And those are the things that really mess us up in life and cause chaos.
I can absolutely say that. I agree with you. And one of the things that I've tried to do, and I'm sure you have as well, but and I'm sure you'll agree with what I'm going to say, is also promoting the fact that you always have to keep in mind, what is your value, not only to yourself but to people around you. Because if you are saying, hey, I need value, but you're not doing anything to help yourself for that value, you're really treading water while everybody's swimming around you. I mean, value plays a big role in my life, in trying to remember that I am worthy. I'm worthy of good things. I'm worthy of friends. I'm worthy of family. I'm worthy of this radio show exploding up into the universe. Okay. I'm worthy of things like that. I'm worthy of good things. So where does self-worth come into play?
Well, self-worth is really at the foundation of this conversation, because actually one of the biggest blockages that humanity has are around shame and guilt. Shame and guilt is one of the most blocking frequencies emotionally, and how it looks like in the body is creating major blockages for life force to even enter into the body. And number two, emotionally, shame and guilt are at the root of all emotions and perceptions of unworthiness and separation from the collective and from the self. So this is where we need to do, and this is a really, really deep global, humanity program that really, since the inception and the creation of religions or concepts of, where the idea of the power is outside or external to us, like an external god or an external belief system that is more powerful than us, a government system, people that are more wealthier than us or more in control. You see, these concepts of disempowerment collectively are subconsciously creating profound programs of shame and guilt. And then, of course, you have religion, which creates specifically ideas around shame, around parts of humanity that are natural and that we really need to go dive deep into them to understand them, embody them, and really get to understand our emotions and our feelings about these deep parts of us. Shame and guilt around our desires, shame and guilt around, who we are, our sexuality, our abilities, shame and guilt about our ability to create and manifest. These are profound programs that really eat up at the person. They are very parasitic programs, and they open you up to parasitic behaviors, interdimensionally, not just in your everyday life, interdimensionally. And interesting enough, there are certain specific dreams that people have when they have really low self-esteem and self-worth and are always in states of shame and guilt, is that the dreams are always around having less, or dying, or death, or the dissolution of the self. So this is something that we need to build up towards in us, is create a really strong foundation to understand who you are. And how you do that is by taking a look at your perceptions and your beliefs. First of all, understand the triggers that you're having. So what triggers you? Go into those triggers and take a look at what kind of belief systems are created by those triggers. So for example, somebody looks at you funny when you're waiting in line, and it immediately creates this sensation of insecurity, where you're not really sure, what are they looking at? Are they judging me? Am I not good? Is something wrong with me? And so immediately those programs of seeking external approval have to be revisited, right? And then, so in that moment, if you can simply redirect your attention from seeking external approval to approving yourself, you can alchemize and transmute that emotion in that moment. And the biological side effects of that, bioelectrically and biochemical side effects of those kinds of shifts and transformations, are really powerful for the human. And essentially they build your field, your multidimensional body. You begin to grow a powerful energy field where you are redirecting constantly your attention to the self. So this is all how to begin to work on that worthiness.
What does the positivity do internally to a person when you start building more of a positive atmosphere around who you are?
Yeah, positivity is really important, but I will have to say, this, that with possibility, there's an upside and a downside to positivity that we do need to talk about. On one side, it's very important to be positive because you raise your vibrational frequency, in that you maintain yourself at a certain level. But the thing is that that positivity cannot be conditional in any way. And so that's kind of the caveat that most people miss, because they sustain a certain level of positivity, which is a construct and a belief system based on certain conditions subconsciously. And when those subconscious conditions aren't met, or they are, disappointed or avoided or missed by something externally, that happiness very quickly diminishes within us, right? And then we fall back into sadness, or even anger or disappointment. So how do you navigate this in order to really sustain a long foundation, grounded, joyful state of being? Number one, again, just like that redirection of your attention and for approval, your sense of joy, and joy is really what we want to talk about, because the real joy is a very strong reconnection with yourself, which doesn't depend on anything in order to survive within you, to thrive within you. So this cultivation means that um, our needs have to be met by ourselves, number one. So we have to meet our needs constantly. And in order to do that, you have to know what your needs are. So again, that internal work, that internal reconnection with yourself, sit down with yourself, ask yourself the necessary questions. What is it that I need right now? Why am I triggered? Why do I feel unhappy in this moment? And then begin to work on that proactively to provide yourself what you need. And we're not talking about material things. We're talking about the internal part of us, the emotions that need to be met, the needs and the desires that need to be addressed and acknowledged in order for you to feel seen, whole. So those are really, really important. And essentially, what happens is that as you eventually create a very neutral perception of observation, which allows you to see the events that are happening and always sustain a certain neutral observation. It's actually from that neutral observation from which real joy and real unconditional love emerges. The kind of unconditional love that is an entire geometric structure in your multidimensional body. And that means that you can hold higher bands of source through yourself. It's also how you regulate your nervous system. right? Because in order for you to feel joyful all the time, you must have a regulated nervous system. Otherwise, at the drop of a hat or, the moving of a wind, we just begin to feel really upset or angry or frustrated or disappointed. So that will never be able to help you stay in those heightened states. So let me see. And then just to address the cultivation of neutrality, essentially, means that in a way you are going with the flow, but really what it comes down to is do not judge the things that are happening to you immediately. Take a pause to be able to observe first what's happening, and then choose how you want to respond. And it's really within that choice that you get to choose whether you want to be positive or, productive and co-creative about the things that are experiencing that are happening to you. That is the true sovereignty and free will that the human can access, by coming into this positivity. And it's extremely powerful, and it is the key of manifestation, because once you come in order to do all these things, you have to be in the present moment, right? So coming fully in the present moment, accepting and understanding your surroundings and the things that are happening around you, and learning how to regulate your nervous system all at the same time allows you to have massive control and co-creative power over your life.
And that is the thing, is power within your life, and trying to keep that control and focus on everything. Okay, there are people out there, though, myself included, who do suffer from anxiety, depression, and that sometimes takes you off your own balance that you're trying to solve for yourself. What are ways that we can improve our own mentality in trying to improve our strength and value?
Our own mentality. Okay, well, let's see. Well, first of all, again, our perceptions have to change, right? So, how does that work? Let's say that we have a deep wound within us that, as a child, our parent told us continuously, when we wanted to draw something, or when we wanted to, let's say we drew something fantastical, and parent was very busy with survival, paying the bills, and maybe didn't have enough support from the partner. So then always telling us, hey, come to reality. That's not real. Don't focus on that illusion or that fake thing or that fantasy. And so little by little, that creates a deep insecurity in the child of the ability to create or even imagine. And the impact of that in your entire life is that there's a mistrust that the child cultivates within themselves, not only with themselves, but their intuition, right? Because their imagination is the tool of translating intuitive information. And it completely severs that. And even more so, there's a disconnect between themselves and their emotions, because to tap into creativity, it's the same flow of energy of creation, of emotional energy, which is the charge that goes into creations. So as you can see, these very core belief systems are things that we need to address. So what we want to do is go back to that little child and just re-educate the child in that way, utilize that scenario and that memory in that scenario in order to provide the child with different ways of looking at things. Okay, so the mother's perception that that imaginary artwork was useless is one perception, but there's also many other ones. And so if we can bring that child's perception, broaden it from that one perception, that creates a massive amount of healing, because the child doesn't have to become an identity and a personality which is a product of that perception. That's a really huge thing. So our mind is made up of perceptions. Our mind is constantly pulling out of the filing cabinet of life experiences, particularly from the womb until the age of 7, which we create all kinds of structures of our reality. And if we begin to look at that filing cabinet and revisit some of those programs that we created, to look at where some of these ideas are inverted or contracted or not exactly the most productive and healthy that bring vitality and health and harmony, we begin to shift gently those programs. So this completely changes the way that we begin to view ourselves, the experiences that happen to us, and we begin to have massive control over our emotions. And what will happen, and I'll tell you this, kind of like you are kind of deconstructing what you thought was your personality, okay? Because we're in this society, we are programmed to have very strong identities. And there's a problem with that. It's a good thing to have an identity to understand who you are. But we'll come back.
Let's figure that out when we come back. The lovely and talented Geraldine Orozco. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. We will be right back on Spaced Out Radio right after this. So stay tuned. More of the Spiritual You with Geraldine right after the break. A beautiful start to the show tonight.
Amazing questions.
Big question coming from, and I'm even going to post this because I don't want you to think I'm making this up. From Sovereign Cosmic Wildman. Can we see the shoe closet? Can we see the shoe closet?
Sovereign, not to interrupt Dave's incredible imagination and creativity, but that doesn't exist, Sovereign, okay? There's no closet. In fact, we're trying to be really minimal. So, but yeah. Getting me into trouble, Dave.
I'm not getting you into trouble.
With the shoe closet. They all expect a shoe closet now. There's no shoe closet.
See, the shoe closet made me laugh aloud.
Me too, because it doesn't exist.
Oh, that is funny.
See, Marty says she has 3 pairs of shoes, and that's almost accurate. There you go, Marty.
I've got 5 sets of Converse.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, they're my babies.
Yeah. A color for every day of the week?
No, I've got a gray color. I've got a purple color. I've got yellow.
Oh,
I've
wow.
got white.
Cool color.
I've got white and black.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah. I don't wear them enough. Up here, I don't wear them enough. Oh, W. Decker is saying there isn't one shoe closet. Does that mean there are multiple shoe closets?
In other dimensions, that's for sure. W. Decker. You got it. He gets it. He gets it.
And Kira's giving up my secret here. You know what my weakness is? Watches.
Oh, really? You're one of those watch collectors. Okay.
I'm a watch guy.
What kind of watches do you like?
I really don't care about the brand. I care about the look of them. I like the bigger faces on there. I like different looking watches. So
are you into those mechanical working ones? Those little
sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
Hi _ Maddie. Yeah, I love diesel watches. They're not the most expensive, but I just love their faces.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. Very cool.
Yeah. So it's I'm getting a little feedback from your end right now. Do you have speakers on?
No, I don't have speaker actually. But let me go run and grab a headset maybe.
All right.
If that works. I'll be right back.
All right. Alien believers, how are you? Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Yeah, I'm a big watch guy. I think right now my collection's at like 25, 26 watches. And I'm always like scoping Facebook Marketplace for watches. See if I can find a really good deal. Mike Arrington, how are you? So I'm usually on Facebook Marketplace at least once a week looking for a good deal where you can scoop up like a $400, $500, $600 watch for like $100 or something along those lines. 150. That's what I do. I haven't bought a watch in a while though. It's been a while. But my dream watch, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford it, but I am manifesting it, because if I don't say that, Kira will spank me. Okay. But I am manifesting it. I want a Breitling. I want a Breitling watch. Oh yeah, I love Breitlings. Yes, my weakness, watches. I don't have a lot of gold watches. See, look at Kira. Look at Kira right here. LOL. Manifesting for sure. Absolutely, my dear. Absolutely. Where was a good wooden watch? I saw those, Matthew. There is a Canadian company. I think they're called, believe it or not, they're actually a thing called Sasquatch. So SASKWATH or TCH. Thank you tonight to Mama Catherine, Dragonfly, and Rat Sass for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on the nightly basis. Don't forget, sign up now. Hi, Stu Gerson. Sign up now for the Spaced Out Radio Fan Party, May 10th through 12th in Reno, Nevada. Info at spacedoutradio.com. You can book your tickets there. 100 for VIP, 60 for regular. Here we go, the second half hour. Here we go, the second half hour, Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with the second half hour of the show and the spiritual you, as we always welcome back our good friend Geraldine Orozco for this show. Geraldine, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. How does audio sound to you, Dave?
You sound great, my dear. You sound great.
Great.
All right. So right before the break, we were talking about positivity coming into the new year, really setting out those intentions, manifest everything that you want, as well as don't just set, resolutions for the beginning of the year. Set them every month. Start maintaining a schedule and make those accomplishments happen. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Sounds very easy. Yet it's the hardest thing we can do. It's weird how that works.
Well, it can be, but what if you just do little increments at a time? For example, if you opt, and there's certain really foundational things that you can do that really impact all areas of your life. For example, what if you would say, I'm going to be a little bit more compassionate with myself today. Okay, just today. And then what that means is that, you listen to your needs and you're not just always running around stressed out in survival, but you pause at least for half a second to check, hey, do I need some water right now? Do I need to sit down for a minute? Do I need to rest? What do I need in this moment? Do I need to feed myself properly? And then meeting those little tiny incremental needs. Those little tiny changes will absolutely transform your life. And as we build up these tiny little things, you can even say one little resolution of, I'm going to be really honest and authentic with myself. And that entire process and work of coming into authenticity can transform every area of your life, your personal relationships, the career that you're choosing, the things that you're doing in your life, your direction of your life. I mean, those are massive things, and they start very little with these tiny little practices that you change within yourself. And my invitation would be to focus on those really core fundamental things about yourself, as opposed to, worrying about, let's say, the weight, for example, or that you're going to be eating healthy. Because what happens is that when you change these fundamental core belief systems, you automatically begin to choose things that are better for you, and you kind of takes out the struggle. You naturally gravitate towards things because somebody that loves themselves wouldn't eat something that can, make them sick in some way in the long run. So there's different ways of looking at it. I mean, you can also make it very enjoyable, very fun. Remember that when we resolve a lot of our trauma, we kind of revert back to a childlike state of joy. And this is kind of like what you're talking about, Dave, that you're wanting to be more positive this year. And that's so important, because when we come back to this like a child, we're not stressed out, we're not afraid, we're not living in constant fear, we're kind of just open to the next new experience. And it's a joyful process where there's actual play included in that. And what that means is that we don't take things as serious, but we understand our core fundamental beliefs, like self-respect, self-trust, self-harmony, authenticity with the self. And then from there, being able to have more joy in the things that we're doing. And that's a really powerful way of existing. So there's little increments that we can do that don't have to be major life changes. And that's my suggestion if you want to do changes like that.
See, that's what I like, is not having to do anything major,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like that too, because as we age, we get into our comfort zones. We get into areas where it's like, oh, let's see here. Do I want pizza on this Saturday night, or do I want to make a salad? And then I have to go to the grocery store and buy the ingredients, and and then I got to cook up some chicken and throw some chicken in there, and and then you get home and you realize you forgot the radishes or something along those lines. That's what happened to me. Happens to me.
Yes, I know. But and I go through that too. And I actually just went through that yesterday, because I was thinking, oh, I'm so tired, after such a long day, and now I have to cook. But then I remember and I think, wow, I'm so lucky I get to cook. I get to nourish my body with whole foods, with real, natural, organic things, and I get to see everything I put in there, and I get to select specific, ingredients that are going to be really good for me. So we just have to change our perspective. And let's say we forgot the radishes. Let's change the recipe, do something a little bit different, and just go with the flow, in that we're not always stuck on very, very specific outcomes, but just think about nourishing yourself, and enjoying it. That
You are
joy.
right.
Yeah.
You are so right. You know what? I'll tell you a little secret about Davey here.
Okay.
I have always never been able to get sushi down, because I think sushi looks great.
Uh-huh.
I don't eat a lot of fish, okay, but I think sushi it's an art form, and I think it looks fantastic.
Sure.
And so for years, I would, if you're at a wedding or something like that, and they have the tray of sushi or something there, I would try it, and I could never get it down. Now I beat that. I beat it. I was so proud of myself. I actually had 2 pieces of sushi right before Christmas, and I was very proud of myself, because I've never been able to get sushi down.
Oh my gosh, that's great. And did you like it?
I loved it.
How did you enjoy it? Oh, that's so great.
Yes. But you know what else I'm also noticing, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are as well. Like when I had a pizza for New Year's, figured I'd treat family to pizza, and it tasted horrible from the beginning. I get the same pizza from the same place, and it tasted absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And it bothered me. It's like how McDonald's can seem like a really good idea in your mind, and all of a sudden you eat it and you're like, why did I do that?
Right.
I mean, now I've never had that happen at Taco Bell, nor do I think that'll ever happen.
Oh no.
But come on, Geraldine, we'll go. I promise you, we'll go. Okay, it'll be a nice friendly date to Taco Bell, you and me.
Oh no. Don't do that to me, Dave, please.
Go through the drive-through. No, but seriously, if you listen to your body will tell you what it wants and what it doesn't. And even if memory thinks it's a good idea, the body will react differently.
Yes, absolutely. And that is the power of the mind too, because think about it. Let's say that, we come to a point where we don't have that many choices, for the kind of food that we're eating. And we have to be able to nourish ourselves, and it's been clinically proven that using the mind to believe that you're healing yourself, that you're nourishing yourself, it really, really works. Because again, the mind over matter is something that is really existing in this holographic construct. So if you intend with your mind that you are working with at the cellular level of what you're eating to nourish you, you can truly turn that into something that can be good for you. You can, because you are in control of your at the cellular level. You can be in control of what your body absorbs into the body and what it releases. And I'll tell you that when I was working as a flight attendant, when I was in college, sometimes the flight attendant food is terrible, and I remember having this practice that I will take into my body. Sometimes that's all you have because you're in a foreign country. You will take into the body. I'll take all the nourishment. I'm setting my mind that I'm going to receive all of the nourishment of what I'm eating here. And then everything that doesn't serve me, I'm going to eliminate from the body. And so you begin to have a very, very close connection with your body, and you communicate with your body. And when you practice this, you begin to have this internal intuition. And another side of that is also the biome. The biome plays a really huge role in that. When we have emotional parasites, for sure we have parasites in the biome, and they feed off one another. Okay, so emotionally imbalanced is going to crave imbalanced foods, like really, really sweet stuff or really salty things, or just things that are imbalanced. That is how we function. So when we begin to rebalance our emotions, also the things that we crave change naturally, and we can heal the body. So there's really, really important. Exactly, Becca Boo, you are what you eat. Exactly. Thank you for that. Mhm.
Geraldine and I are going to be tacos one day from Taco Bell.
I know.
Uh-huh.
I'll agree to the shoe closet if we don't go to Taco Bell. How about that?
You'll admit to it finally. The shoe closet, or watch her eat a Taco Bell taco. Mm.
Oh
Those are heavy
boy.
choices. Heavy
Yeah.
choice 2024. You know what, though? The one thing that I have also noticed too is when you can free your mind and body of a lot of things, it also opens up your mind much easier to more spiritual contact, to more
Yes.
UFO contact, to more of your consciousness being clearer and much more focused. How do we take a clean body and make a clean mind and soul in order to gain any sort of metaphysical contact?
Oh, beautiful question, Dave. I love this because, and I love that, there's an understanding here that we're establishing. Number one, in order to have contact of any kind, it's a vibrational frequency game, okay? Because we are constantly moving in and out of dimensions all the time, every single moment. When you're awake and when you're sleeping, you are moving out of dimensions based on your vibrational frequency, which is based on your emotions and the programs. Emotions create a bioelectrical charge that are inputted into this holographic system that projects experiences. Okay. And then, of course, your emotions and the biochemical responses that are coming as a result of those emotions also shift your brainwave state, right? So, the deeper and the higher frequency brainwave state that you have at the time of sleep, you can navigate higher dimensional planes. The less and more connected to the physical that you are, and you don't go deep into deep sleep or deep REM state, for example, those brain patterns are not able to take you into higher dimensions. There's a process to this body, and this has been studied deeply by the Air Force. In fact, when they're testing G-force, the spinning of the body, the faster the human spins, or experiencing the G-force, they leave the body. And the steps are that first you faint, right? First you fall asleep if you're spinning at a certain rate. Then they leave the body, and then after that they experience near-death experiences, right? So there's a vibrational frequency and a preparation to this navigation, and how we dictate what happens next after each one of these different stages has everything to do with your emotions and your frequency, right? So the more that we clear blockages, which means limiting belief systems, the more that you will raise your vibrational frequency and have the ability to navigate by shifting your brainwave frequency, leaving the body into higher dimensions for contact that can be more productive. Another part is that the more parasitic your programs are, the more parasitic your contact will also be. Okay, so and this is just vibrational again, and unfortunately we are all extremely intuitive. Most of you that are contactees, you guys have, you know, Rh negative blood types, which means you recall your contact a lot more. You've had contact in your families, down your ancestral lineages, so you're very aware of this interdimensional contact. But the limitation of the contact is blocked by the belief systems of your self-trust and your ability to navigate the unknown from a place of empowered neutrality. That's really important. So how do we cultivate that empowered neutrality? Is by creating trust with ourselves, trust with our intuition, number one. And so that requires the cultivation of your emotional body, right? So that is incredibly important. And for me, for example, when the way that I had conscious experiences was when I spent time in meditation deconstructing those parts of myself that were limiting. That's how it opened me up. And it's the same for many of my clients. They're on spiritual journeys and all of a sudden the veil thins. Why? Because you're raising your frequency. So now you can see interdimensional beings, you can interact. And one of the things that all of the ancient civilizations have been talking about is navigation of dream state, mastering navigation of out of body. Whether you're taking some kind of ayahuasca or some plant medicine, learn how to master that navigation. Okay, or when you're in dream state, learn how to master that navigation. This is what all the shamans from every belief system around the world had a core understanding of navigation. And all of that has to do with your ability to be empowered in states of unknown and the cultivation mechanics of that in the physical body, which is regulated nervous system, training neutrality, and the ability to trust your intuition. So those are the key elements of this navigation, and all of them are, you know, the foundation of that is this work that you're talking about.
Well, I mean, I think the foundation is something very positive. Very
Yes.
positive. You know, like apparently Beckaboo says, did you know that if you talk to your water positive, good thoughts, and then drink the water, you can actually change the energy of the water to help heal
Exactly.
your body? I
Excellent, Peckaboo.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know that. I thought that was full of horse crap. But if that
No, no.
works, I'll try it. Hold on, let's try it right here. Hey, you
Yeah.
sexy buttercup here. How you doing? What's happening? Are you and me going to take Geraldine to Taco Bell? Yeah? Okay. Manifest well.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that water's great.
Ah, the water was so agreeing to the Taco Bell. It's unbelievable.
Oh no. 2 against 1. Come on,
Uh-huh.
guys, help me out in the chat.
Do you honestly think that if you and I hung out that we would actually go to a Taco Bell? I would never.
Well,
I would never do that to you. Never do that to you.
oh, so funny. But there is a famous Taco Bell right on the beach here with an ocean view that's world famous. So I can take you there just
All
for fun.
right, now it's on. Now it's on.
Yes.
Now it's on. Okay. So with contact, that, you know, and you and I have talked contact many a times on this show over the last darn near 8 years we've been doing this year.
Wow. It's
7
unbelievable.
7 years. 7 years we've been
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah.
Okay. And the idea that a clean mind, body, and consciousness, how do we take that focus on the stars and look up and say, hey, do you have time for tea? You know, do you have time to hang out and really start manifesting what is truly out there on a
Yeah.
spiritual level?
Well, the thing is this, we're having contact every night, okay? But how much you remember is a different story. That's the thing. We are having contact and interaction interdimensionally all the time. Even in your waking state, you are interacting with things, but your level of awareness blocks you from seeing what you're interacting with. So actually, this concept, for example, that, you know, more people are having more contact now, that's a direct result of the collective frequency that we're sharing in this experience in the matrix. You know, many years ago, you know, 20, 30, 40 years ago, the number of people that remember their contact weren't as much, and also social engineering helped them disconnect from that awareness in many ways. So, you know, we are now in a communication age, in a technology age, where everything is interconnected. We are finding out about each other more than ever, and we are communicating about these experiences that are happening more than ever. But it means that we've always been having them. We just haven't talked about them. We just haven't known how to even recognize them. So, you know, memory and awakening your ancestral memory is the key. ET contact is very much a bioarchitectural process. When we raise our vibrational frequency, we begin to open our bodies to being able to leave the body and to interact simultaneously in the present moment with other dimensional timelines. But your ability to remember and recall those interactions is the key, and that requires a couple things. Number one, the cultivation of gray matter in the brain. Okay, why? How do you grow gray matter? You grow gray matter through meditation. Okay, mindfulness practices of cultivating your emotions in a state of absolute stillness and training that observation to not be moved by emotional triggers of any kind. That grows gray matter in the brain, and eventually, this is, you know, scientifically tested and proved. Monks that will meditate for years and years and years, they have a very strong magnetic field that's extremely important for this interdimensional navigation and for the activation of ancestral memory. Number two, gray matter not only grows in the brain, but it grows down the spine. Okay, so what happens is that the gray matter grows down the spine, and people have what we know as Kundalini awakenings. Now, there are 13 basic Kundalini awakenings that the human will encounter or has the ability to encounter. It's not just one. It's not just the root chakra rising up. It's every single one of your chakras has to go into a Kundalini opening. And it's going to be a major paradigm deconstruction every time, because there are awakening processes that have to happen and shifts of your perception until you come into neutral reconnection of unity consciousness with the whole. And then, you know, you're completely interacting interdimensionally, and you're remembering, you're seeing the lights in the sky, you're remembering your dream state, you're connecting with councils, navigating other planets, you know, like all of these things that we do in our dream state, because we are, remember, what we think, we're actually existing in many simultaneous parallel lives in this present moment. We exist, and we are intercommunicating with those parallel fractals of ourselves. They help us with their evolution. We help them with our evolution. We're an interconnected multidimensional organism. So when we're sleeping and we begin to dream, we're not just, at first, when you're unconscious, your dreams are going to be very abstract. It's going to be maybe funny things that don't really make sense to you. But as you reorganize your energy body, and as you cultivate this gray matter in the body, you open these Kundalini centers, your dreams will be prophetic. They will allow you to be very intuitive. They will be very lucid. And then the next step, which is shaman work 101, is that you learn how to navigate, master those dreams. So you interact with a gray alien. Okay, well, what are you doing there? What's your interaction? What's your agreement with them? Because remember that ET contact goes down generations. We have it in our blood, in our DNA. Literally, it's in our DNA. And what we're navigating is that this holographic realm through the morphogenetic field of the holographic DNA system. That's really what we're navigating when we go to sleep. We enter into these realms in order to access this data. So so this would be the foundation, you know, how to access that.
Excellent. As we got under a minute to go here on Spaced Out Radio, hour number one with Geraldine Orozco. As we access it, is it something that has to happen through meditation, through the Kundalini, through psychic advancement? How does it happen? 30-second answer.
Yeah. So yes, the quick answer is yes. Why? Because every single one of your energy centers is a portal and a vortex into these different paradigms based on vibrational frequency. So within the 13 chakras is your access to 13 dimensional layers. And within those 13 dimensional layers is your ancestral memory of past life, future lives, including ET fractals of yourself in which you exist and interact with. So yes.
Perfect. Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You continues right after this on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about ET contact, finding our Zen and Chi, aligning our chakras, and much more on Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, my dear.
Awesome.
We got about a 5.5 minute break. I'm going to put you in the green room, and
Yeah.
I'm going to go take a break.
Thank you.
Super Duke! Nice to see you. We'll be right back, guys. give you a call tomorrow. That's good news. All right. Gotta run. Bye. All right. Sorry about that. Big thank you tonight to Dragonfly, Mama Catherine, and Rat's Ass for the super chats. And hey, we have a page up. We have a page up for our Facebook. It's on the Spaced Out Radio group for our fan party, May 10th through 12th at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. We want to see you there. It's open to everybody. Everybody is invited. Everybody. We want to see you there. We're going to bring in some people from the show, like Geraldine is going to be there. Merle's going to be there. Melinda Leslie, Jim Goodall, many others. Science Bob, our entire Spaced Out Radio team. We want to see you there for a great event, which includes a live radio show and more. Tickets are $100 for VIP, which gets you a swag bag, $60 for regular. We want to make sure everybody is happy. So come join us that weekend and make sure you're attending. Info at spacedoutradio.com. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Daedalus. Daedalus is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show brought to you by Chive Charities. Make sure you check them on out. Hey, Geraldine Orozco is here for hour number 2 of The Spiritual You, the first time of 2024 having Geraldine here, and her website, GeraldineOrozco.com, is where you can check her out. Geraldine, welcome back.
Thank you once again. Such an honor. Can't believe it's 2024.
I know, it's my lucky year. My lucky year this year, because my favorite number is 24.
Wow. That's
yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to this one. And a question from Sovereign. Geraldine, did you plant the idea that Dave has a reptilian tail, or did you actually see it? That was during our regression.
Yeah, I remember. So obviously when I work with clients in hypnotherapy, I'm merging into their field of information. So in this case, Dave, you saw yourself as this reptilian being, and he was describing himself. So a note about that. I mean, I'm actually talking about this in my book that I'm writing, but we have many different species in our DNA, in our construct. Okay, so when we see things like this, we shouldn't get alarmed, or we shouldn't think it's something negative or something terrible, because our entire biology has within us, we have a reptilian brain, we have a survival mechanism of our body, and that is exactly what reptilian vibrational frequency is about. It's about this survival mechanisms, very militaristic kind of constructs that they create, right? So that this is like an archetypal layer of our potential, and it's not something to be fearful about. We see it as reptilian, physically, but there's many other aspects to that vibrational frequency. Just as in everything in the universe, everything has duality, and there are very positive reptilian beings as well. So we are learning how to, what Dave did in the hypnotherapy is activate his DNA, which had that reptilian influence within it, and to be able to bring those things to surface. And major transformation can come from that. Because if you understand the patterns that you're holding within you that he lived out in that reptilian life, which again, it's simultaneously occurring in this moment, pulling information from that part of himself to better and to improve his current life can move massive blockages out of life. So this is why hypnotherapy is really important. And it can be a powerful tool of transformation because you begin to see who you are. And trust me, who you are in this physical body is one of infinite potential. And there are very powerful things that, remember that what he heals or what he becomes aware of, the insights that he receives from the reptilian life, they're not only healing himself, but his entire ancestral lineage, and holding space for his child as well. Children are descendants because they are the inheritance of this genetic information. And so when we clear up those blockages, we actually help inherit new programming for the next generation. So it's a major, major wonderful work to be able to get into these parts of ourselves.
I love it. Love it. All right. Yes. Apparently, I am reptilian from the Orion constellation, just below the
Yeah.
belt.
Amazing.
And Geraldine hangs out there too with her shoe collection.
That's true. That is true.
Very true. Very true. Okay. You know what? It's hard for people, even myself at times, to take this idea that I have reptilian energy, or I have Pleiadian energy, or I have Nordic energy, or genes inside of me. It's very hard to take seriously sometimes when you hear things like that. How do we know that this is actually a part of not our life, but our consciousness, our soul, and our soul family?
Well, this is something that, again, we are creating, right? So if you're seeing this, if you tune into that information in a hypnotherapy, it's somewhere in your subconscious mind, and it exists there for a reason. So the invitation is to understand what is being communicated through the imagery of this archetypal aspect of yourself that has emerged to the surface at this time. This is really what this work is about. And when you look at the bigger picture of this kind of healing work, it's not about getting identified with the archetypal manifestations of what you're connecting with. It's not about getting identified with the species that we're connecting with or that we're seeing, encountering. The idea and the most powerful message I can bring to you from the work that I do with my clients every single day is to try not to become identified with what you encounter, to observe it in what it is. Because in these realms, when we are excavating the information of our subconscious mind, there's a tremendous amount of symbolism that we are utilizing to translate this information. And your ability to access pure core symbolism of this information is based on your belief systems about yourself and about, you are, and even your ancestral lineage and their belief systems and their limitations as well are all going to participate in how you translate the things that you encounter. Um, and so one of the things that is part of this human experience through the evolution of this life is to try to learn how to navigate the unknown in a most graceful way. That when you encounter this scary looking reptilian, let's say, it's terrifying to us for a lot of reasons. And we have to really understand those reasons psychologically. Number one, remember, as a child, the child sees something, but it doesn't really know that it's terrifying until it picks up cues from the parent that then creates an idea that what we're seeing is unsafe. The child is absolutely innocent. They don't know how to judge what they're encountering. So we essentially want to come back to that powerful tool of perception, and at the same time utilize a very advanced discernment in order to navigate our interaction with what we are interacting with. So not necessarily immediately judge what you're seeing based on what you know, but utilizing what you know in order to discern how you want to respond to what you're interacting with. And this is very important that we have this conversation, because a lot of you are having contact now. You're having a lot of dreams that have a lot of incredible experiences. And so how do you make sense of them? You know, we want to sit in meditation as much as possible, in order to clean the mind from influences of social engineering, such as TV, for example, or any kind of shows. Because remember that since the 50s, there's been a very powerful from the government, pushes about a very, very strong socially engineered perception of interdimensionals and ETs. And that's for a reason, okay? That made a split in humanity, thinking this is unacceptable, it doesn't exist, it's not real, or it's terrifying and harmful. And even now, we're kind of waking up from that unconscious state. We have the government creating space army, or space, the space sector of the military, for example. So we just need to understand that we're headed in the direction of major technological advances that will propel humanity forward very quickly and bridge the gap in our understanding of what we're dealing with here. We are dealing with interdimensional consciousness. And so the way that we need to prepare ourselves is to begin to train the way that we see and perceive things. We can't qualify things by our limited belief systems anymore, because they will always end up causing us harm, and always, again, not being able to see the bigger picture of things. And so right now, the evolution into unity conscious is more than just a spiritual thing. It's preparing humanity to be able to withstand the major transformational paradigm shifts that we're coming into as a whole human race, and that includes ET contact. So there's a lot of changes that are happening that we have to work mentally, emotionally, physically, prepare for discernment of the things that we encounter as a whole.
Well, there you go. There you go. Let's get to another question. This one from Toe Tag. Which is more of a spiritual experience, between hypnotherapy and a psychedelic experience?
Right. So the problem with with a psychedelic experience is the following. Um, every single chemical has a very specific chemical construct, number one. And within the chemical construct of that is an entire architectural realm that is accessed by the geometry of this substance. Okay, so for example, plant medicine, every single kind of plant that there are enters into very specific dimensional realms with very specific symbology attached to those realms that communicate specific specific layers of information of the subconscious, collective subconscious. Okay, so we need to, just like the shamans, and this is important and probably missing from a lot of these group, medicine groups that are being taken, that shamans trained, first of all, having a profound connection with the plant before they even enter into that dimension. And the preparation has to be understand what layer of the subconscious you're entering into. In example, ayahuasca, people claim to see a serpent, right? Or the mother ayahuasca that emerges. Now, there's a massive symbology behind that we see written in from petroglyphs to ancient scripts around the entire world of the shamans that utilize this plant medicine in order to access these dimensions for information. So there's a certain preparation, and we need to understand what to use that serpent medicine for and how it relates to you as a human, because it's speaking to a very specific part of our subconscious collective, of our bodies, even of the kind of chakras and the information that we are releasing from those parts of our body as we enter into the plant medicine realm. So the problem with that, again, is that if you're not really prepared in the navigation of what you're going to be experiencing and have a clear understanding of how to navigate that dimension for your own personal evolution, you can actually end up worse than you started. Okay. So it requires an extraneous amount of guidance and a spiritual preparation to do psychedelics. Okay. Um, Hypnotherapy is utilized, is, you have a hypnotherapist guide you like me. I guide you in there. But in a hypnotherapy, one of the ways that we guide what we're doing is that you are asking specific questions about what you need in your life right now, answers that you need, and this is helping your soul move forward. And so, as we go down the questions, we are navigating this subconscious realm, which you are accessing based on your vibrational frequency. So, biochemically, you are producing the same chemicals that you're using for the psychedelic experience at a lesser amount, but you are more lucid and more in control of what you're navigating. Okay, so in a hypnotherapy, you're accessing past lives, and based on your vibrational frequency and your intention, you can go as deep as you want to go. And a lot of people experience even more profound experiences in hypnotherapy when guided correctly, and they can get the answers specifically to what they need. One of the problems that I see with psychedelics is that there's a lack of integration. They go in for this incredible experience. You see all kinds of magnificent things about the architecture of this realm, but you don't know how to place it in your life. And that's a problem, which immediately can change your perception, but it will be a temporary change because you won't know what needs to be done next in order to implement what you saw into your life. And that's kind of the gap that I see. But with hypnotherapy, you are seeing and integrating immediately. And that's what you want to find in your hypnotherapist to be able to do for you. You want to be able to navigate and integrate immediately so that you can apply the lessons into your everyday life. So that's how I would explain that.
All right, let's go to another question here. This one is from Vinster. Vinman says, Geraldine, have you tried earthing therapy, grounding your bed when you sleep?
Oh, that's very nice. Now, Vin, I don't know if this is utilizing a specific kind of technology. I've seen grounding bed mats. Is that what you're talking about? Now, when the grounding that I know, and in terms of the earthing, is taking your shoes off, going into the ground barefoot, and connecting with the earth, and that immediately balances the positive negative charges in the body, which helps with sleep, reconnecting and rebalancing the biorhythms, connecting with the circadian rhythm of the earth, all kinds of amazing benefits. Now, in my teachings of multidimensional body training, I have a course on my website that I train people how to navigate and use their multidimensional techniques. I teach grounding techniques utilizing your intuition and your energy in your body and connecting to the center of the earth. And the reason for that is that we want to align this physical vessel with the frequency of the planet Earth in order to come into alignment with the circadian rhythms of the planet. Depending on whatever hemisphere you're on, your body adjusts to those. And you come into a self-organized system of harmony in your organism. It's extremely important. You don't need a mat, you don't need a specific bed for this, but it's a practice that you want to do 24/7, especially in dream time when you're leaving your body and navigating lucidly. Okay. But in waking state, you ground, you come fully into your body. It is one of the most powerful tools to come into the present moment. Um, and you can also ground a room. You can ground your house. You can ground a room that people are in. But of course, there are ethics for that you need to learn about. You can't just impose free will on another. But this is a powerful tool that literally shifts entire environments into the present moment. So I'm wondering if this is what you're talking about specifically, Vin. You can let me know what you think about that.
All right. And I think, the whole grounding aspect of everything, I think, how often should we be doing that? Because, the other day I was feeling a little bit of off energy in my house. I haven't really grounded my house in a while,
Ah,
but I did it at that point. Okay.
amazing.
I mean, how often should we be grounding ourselves? How often and when I say that, should it be our energy, our personality, our homes? What should we be grounding?
Great question. So remember, the personality is just a construct that's created, okay, based on belief systems. So in a way, it can be very ephemeral. It kind of passes and it changes constantly, your personality. So the personality, really, that construct, as I mentioned before, we want to kind of deconstruct that, really. What you find, the observer through the five senses is actually the one that we want to reconnect with, first of all. So when we reconnect with that observer, that's the one that can actually ground you, because this is the essence of the self. The essence, the observer, is the soul fractal, the pure consciousness that resides within you, that is observing the physical hologram of experience. So that is the real true thing that is existing. Everything else can change and is a construct that is created as a holographic projection from that core. Okay, so that core observer pulls the data from the DNA in order to project reactions, bioelectrical charges that create experiences. So what you want to ground, essentially, is, first of all, identify that observer, and then the observer is housed inside the physical vessel, the body. So we want to bring the body and align it with your greater mother, father core, which is the planet Earth. You are like the cells that exist on this planet Earth organism. And in order for you to tune in and expand your frequency to the knowledge of where you stand within this greater galaxy, you can say, you need to connect yourself with that Earth in order to have that communication, to open that communication. Because the Earth has its own DNA. Okay, and that's where your ancestral memory comes into play, the Akashic records of who you are. So you want to connect to that Earth, so you're waking up from the hypnosis of the hologram into the real world. Remember, in the Matrix, when they wake up, they're in a completely different place. It's not that holographic illusion. And that's kind of what's happening when you're grounding. You're coming into the real plane of navigation and co-creation, and that only exists in the present moment. So grounding is really about the present moment, which means we want to do it all the time. We want to be conscious every single moment, and to be conscious means to be fully aware, not just the mind or the emotions or the sensations. It's the entire body, all 360, right? So every cell of your body is aware and intentionally creating and existing in the presence in that moment. And when you bring, because this is a holographic construct, when you bring an entire house into grounding, you're bringing everything that exists within that place into the present moment. And it's amazing how the energy will start to move in your house. If you have a messy house, you're going to naturally want to move mess out of the house, because when you're in the present moment, your heightened senses are very sensitive to your environment, and so it becomes uncomfortable to have all this clutter, and everything comes back into self-organized system. Because one of the beautiful things about existing on this planet Earth, that we follow self-organized patterns which are natural from nature, right? And so if you look at nature, they follow self-organizing patterns. The body does too. So our environment also follows self-organizing patterns, and it's always in order to exist in the most harmonious state. So the state in which, what does that mean? The state that can be more of a conduit. Okay, the more organized, the more harmonious, the more of a conduit to source you are. So you can channel source, you can fill your house with that source light, and bring harmony. So, yeah.
Geraldine, we have about 20 seconds left before we got to go to break here. So we will allow the audience to reload their questions as we continue on here on Spaced Out Radio with the Spiritual You. Geraldine Orozco is our guest. Her website is GeraldineOrozco.com if you want to check it out, or a company, Bay Area Meditation in San Francisco, California. So make sure you stick around as we have Geraldine until the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Yeah, she is unloading powerful info to kick off your 2024 on the right foot or left. whatever one you step first with. Really doesn't matter. Just listen. Take it all in. We will be right back on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Oh gosh, I'm gonna tell you this.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what was happening to me while you were chatting with me. I got this psychic lady who messages me.
Uh-huh.
Okay, sorry to bother you. I am a God-gifted. I'm not going to mention her name. I'm a God-gifted psychic advisor and love specialist. I'm picking up a lot of energy from your pictures. I would love to have an opportunity to read you if you're interested. Let me know. I said, what do you see? I talk in all caps when I'm on the radio. That's okay. I can't tell you completely. I need to translate for you. But for you to know you have got some bad negativity you need to work on. Can you send me a picture of your left hand, of your left palm, so I can translate it for you? I said, what's the negative? Negativity, not negative. So I send a picture of my palm. Okay, perfecto.
You
Are you
did?
she then says, are you aware you will have to make a donation before translating?
Of course.
So
Oh.
I said, honey, I'm psychic too. I don't pay to play. And yes, I'm a perfectionist, or try to be. Pay to play. You aren't even paying for ordinary thing. You are paying for a donation. I only told you that part. I said, once again, I don't donate to psychics when I have a team of them around me.
Right.
And she goes, what team? I said, my team. She goes, you don't even understand what I mean by being a perfectionism. But since you know more than me, I do fine. I said, now, I never said that. I am always up for knowledge, but you approached me, so tease me. What kind of donation are you looking for? Okay, more conversation happens. And then I said to her, you do realize that spirit doesn't care about donations. It is you that cares about the donation. She goes, what? What do you know about spirit? If you are translating from a spirit of Kibutsuji Muzan, then I will know without donation. Your words will be an unspoken way. You won't even understand. Do you know what that kind of spirit does? Ask around about me. They will tell you who I am. I said, you're funny and entertaining. And she goes, well, you could say that, but I'm serious about what I'm saying. I want to tell you more of yourself, but not without a donation. And I said, she goes, just a token. I said, a token? Yep. The donation is just $65, not even up to 100. I said, LMFAO, not an effing chance. I do like your effort, though. And she goes, once you do, I will tell you all about yourself and your full negativity of what you need to do. I said, I've never paid for a reading, nor will I. Like I said, I don't pay to play. If you have something to tell me out of spiritual bliss, you should be coming out and telling me, especially if the message came specifically to you for me. There are no spiritual caveats with that. Good hustle, though. I can appreciate that.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. That is what we deal with. And you know what the sad part about it is? People fall for that. People fall for that. Let's see. Who do I have that's intuitive that I go to? Well, I have my friend Geraldine. I have my friend Samantha Mowat. I have my friend R. Keith Andrews. I have my friend Kira.
Yeah.
And many others that are protecting me at this time.
Right.
Why the hell am I going to pay some stranger who obviously is going to come at me with a negative connotation to say, I need to talk with you? Holy cow.
Oh, well, I'm glad you caught it right away, Dave.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah. That's what's funny. Got a few people to say hello here, too, that have just come on in. Okay. And I got Robin Haynes, too. Scott B., how are you? Typical Jason, welcome to SOR chat. And let's see here. Starduster and Potato Grouse. Good to see you. And who else has jumped in here? I don't know. But that's a good way to make sure you don't get scammed, everybody. I like to play with people like that. I really do. Because they always think they know more. They always do. Commonwealth Andrew, how you doing? Good morning. Thank you to Rat Sass, Mama Catherine, Dragonfly, and Toe Tag for the super chats. Hi, Abnormal Investigations. How you doing? And here we go, everybody. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show, hey, keep it on up because we got a lot more show to go in the second half. Geraldine Orozco, though, we only have her until the top of the hour, and we love it when she's here because it's just Education 101 here on the show. Geraldine's website, GeraldineOrozco.com. Welcome back, Geraldine.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, you're welcome. You are welcome. So, where do you want to go? We got a little bit of feedback coming back here again.
Oh, I don't know why I took this off. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me connect this.
Put our headphones back in, and then look at that. Feedback's gone. Perfect.
There you
Perfect.
go.
Not a problem.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I'd love to take audience questions if there are audience questions, but yeah, just really quickly, just want to share a little bit about what's been coming in for this year. Just remember that I'm working with clients every single day, and it's very interesting that there are certain themes and energies that come up every week for healing. And one of the major themes that has been coming up in this past couple weeks and the beginning for this year is about trust, self-trust, coming into a profound level of self-trust, and cultivating that. So that's going to be really, really important this year. And what that means is that, redirect your attention from the external, and try to focus less on judgment. There's so much judgment, like we're judging the things that we're watching, what people are doing. We judge ourselves, and that causes a lot of distraction away from, where your energy could be directed into something very creative. And again, what is creation? Creation doesn't really necessarily mean just physical things. We're not just creating physical things, but what we're creating is manifesting. Okay. And that manifestation comes from our emotions. So if your core emotions are emotions of unworthiness or fear or anxiety, remember that you're inputting that into the kind of experiences you're going to be having. And that's a big deal. We need to change that, and be mindful, because as we're moving into 2024, into 2027, it's the things are going to be speeding up. Your ability to manifest is speeding up. That means that the things that you were hoping for and wishing for, and you spent a lot of energy intending on over the past few years, are now finally coming reality. And if your intentions in the past have been negative in any way, like, you have a lot of animosity towards someone or something, or even yourself, those will manifest into the physical at this time, either in your relationships or in your physical body as illness. This is an 8-year and numerology. And that means that we're coming into, it's about karma. The 8 represents infinity, loops, and cycles. And it has to do a lot with karma. What is karma? Karma is cause and effect. So if a lot of your intentions behind your actions are more survival-like and out of fear, again, that's what we're going to be reaping. It's about you're reaping what you sow. And think about the ways that you interact with people and the way that you treat people, the way that you treat yourself. If that's a lot of self-protection, self-preservation, you're going to really feel it this year. So get straight about those intentions that you're holding, and you have to really, really be honest with yourself and call yourself out on all the parts of you that are hiding those parts of you, because trust me, if you don't see them, they will make themselves seen through your experiences this year. So it's a very interesting dance that we're coming into. And the reason for that is that, this is an 8-year, 9-year is about closing and new beginnings. Okay. So after 9, it's like new beginnings. So 8-year cycles are just everything that you've experienced in the past 10 years, 8 years, is now coming to full head. Okay, so the first 3 months of this year are going to be heightened emotions. People are going to be very emotional. So be mindful of that when you start to feel strong emotions come up, that you take a pause or you retreat. And really practicing self-care these first 3 months are going to be important, because it's going to take a lot of depletion of energy if you're always in your emotions. And so, Vipassana meditations, take a bath, whatever you need to do to regulate your nervous system as much as possible will help make these 3 months something a little bit more less, triggering. Okay. And then when we come into the summer, this is where manifestation is going to start to speed up towards the end of the year. So use these first 6 months of the year to get super clear about where you want to find yourself in this next phase, because we're entering a new window. This also is the beginning of period 9. In Chinese astrology and feng shui and energy mastery, period 9 is massive transformation. And one of my very good friends, if anybody's interested, is having an event at the end of this month, talking about period 9 and how it relates to your career and your personal life. But I highly suggest get familiar with what that's about, because this is a very, very powerful era for your spiritual evolution. And it's going to dictate how humanity and the direction that humanity takes moving forward. And it really depends on you, because you as an individual cell of this organism participate in the co-creation of collective timelines. So we are choosing those timelines based on our experiences and how we choose to experience things every moment. So yeah, just want to share a little bit about that for this year, preparing everyone. Don't forget to do your shadow work. And if you guys need help with that, please reach out to me with DNA reprogramming. Get that shadow work in, learn how to do that shadow work, get it down so that you're working on it proactively. So yeah.
That's why we call her Geraldine Orozco and the spiritual you around here, because she is kicking our butts tonight to get us back in order. That's what she is doing. At this time of year, as we, start to focus on ourselves a little bit more, a lot of people focus on their own contact. What's going to happen with their extraterrestrial family as the year goes on? How do we build that bridge to find out where we are and who we are, more importantly?
Yeah, finding out who you are is extremely important. And I think one of the most transformative processes of our spiritual evolution. Um, you know, in my own journey, let's start at the basics. Again, question your programming to understand who you've become now, today. Who are you now, right now? And who you are right now is basically the personality that you constructed, which is a construct of survival. Okay, so take a look how much of yourself as an identity, as a personality, as a self is based on survival mechanisms. That's going to be the first thing. If the majority of your behavior, way of being, way of speaking, presenting yourself, interacting with relationships is mostly based on survival, self-preservation, fear, not like unworthiness of any kind, that's going to really, that defines you in a vibrational frequency, a very specific vibrational frequency. And what you can access, even in healing, is going to be in resonance to those parts of you. until you really open those up. And we talked about hypnotherapy tonight. Obviously, hypnotherapy is a super powerful tool to access those programmings, not just from this lifetime, but multiple lifetimes, and begin to open up some of those blockages that you're holding in your body, emotionally and physically. And another part is if you are having health problems and illnesses, another part of getting to know who you are is understanding why are we holding illness in the body, not just in your personal life as a result of your emotional patterns. Understand those, get to know what are the patterns that led you to create a foundation in your body to sustain illness, number one. Number two, let's look at the ancestral history. And this is another reason hypnotherapy and also DNA reprogramming can work, just as a point there. But when you access the memory ancestrally of your illness, you begin to see how your ancestors' choices have affected your perception of yourself, and also how your soul has manifested sometimes generations of trauma you have held in your body, and it's now produced into an illness. And when you look at the kind of illness that you have, the direct correlation between the illness and the programs from your ancestors are exactly aligned. Okay, so get to know that, because actually part of your purpose, identifying your purpose, is doing this work. Because your purpose, the first purpose before any other superficial external purpose, is that you alchemize everything that your ancestors have done that brought you into manifestation, because we are brought into manifestation as a result of all of the choices our ancestors have made. And it's literally in your DNA. You are a holographic projection of that. In dream time, you're navigating those choices that you and your ancestors, which we are one, have made. And, and we are alchemists. That's our point. We transmute the raw core metal to refine it into a gold, and gold is the highest conduit, which means that it's a system of conduit of source through the body. And so the more we refine these programs, transmute them, the more you become a powerhouse of light. Your energy body expands, and you can become a regeneration system, a very powerful regeneration system. So then going in deeper into hypnotherapies where you begin to access past lives, and you don't need a hypnotherapy to access a past life. You can access past lives through meditation as well. But if you begin to remember these past lives, you're activating DNA immediately. And I'm not talking about just imagining past lives. I'm talking about really intuitively tapping into your field. It's a completely different thing. And the result of that is that you actually heal the layers of your energy body. Okay, so there's a lot of wonderful opportunities in knowing who you are, but just to let you know that a little key pointer that I want to put in here is, please don't get identified with any one aspect of yourself. Try to keep moving as you see who you are, because what you're going to realize after all these years of work, and this is my realization, we are all and nothing simultaneously. That's really what we are. And that's really hard for the ego and for, this human vessel in this very physical, compartmentalized, individualized reality to make sense of that. We fear that it's the dissolution of ourselves, the dissolvement of ourselves, the annihilation of the self. But it's not. It's actually the expansion. And we fear expansion. We fear being unlimited into infinite potential. So just work on the the comfort zones that you might have created in order to hold on to specific identities, and try to work gently, lovingly, compassionately into coming into this universal interdimensional being, which is what we're all headed for.
All right. Toe Tag has a question for you. What is your advice on how to do integration from hypnotherapy, meditation, or psychedelic experience into your everyday life?
Okay. So, first of all, I'm sure you already kind of got to it, but I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of psychedelic work because of the reasons I stated earlier in the show. But the integration process for all of them are essentially what I literally just said a second ago, which is perfect segue into this question. The practice of coming into less compartmentalized aspects of yourself, right? Because here's the thing, and this is what the shadow governments and, let's say, these darker aspects of our reality, like everything from dark parts of our world and governments and all of these control systems weaponize, is the compartmentalization of a human, right? So when a human becomes more compartmentalized, it's really easy to control and to manipulate them because all of their parts are separate, disconnected, and so we can't see ourselves as what we truly are, which again is all. Okay, so take a look at social engineering and the influence of that, and how it constantly tries to keep us in adapting some identity, some kind of one identity. What's your sex? What's your this? What's your that? Your color? Your this? All of those things are distractions from the truth that you are all in nothing. That's going to be the ultimate truth of every human experience, whether you like it or not. Okay, and so becoming all in nothing means that all of these experiences that you encounter in meditation and hypnotherapy, you're going to be seeing yourself as all of these archetypes. Okay, there are 12, 13, some people say 13, 12 major archetypes that we as humans are subconsciously constructed from. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to integrate all of those 12 archetypal aspects of ourselves into a one. And what you're going to revisit in meditation or psychedelic or hypnotherapy experiences, you're navigating all these dimensions to see information presented to you as an archetypal symbology. You need to understand the high and the low of that archetypal symbology and be able to integrate those dualities. Meaning we don't judge either of them, whether you were a massive killer in one lifetime or you were Queen of the Nile in another one, for example. Okay, and both of the dualities of these two archetypal aspects of yourself, when they come into healing, again, into the neutral integration, away from those identities into a whole self, that's the job that we're doing. We are learning how to bring these compartmentalized identities back into the whole, nothing and all. And that's the integration process. Okay, so what does that look like emotionally? First of all, when you revisit some of these dimensions, you're going to gain insight on yourself, on your emotions, and the mechanics of this universe. Learn how to integrate those mechanics into your everyday life. Don't just make them ideals. They have to be implemented, embodied. And the job of integration is to understand how to implement these things into our everyday life, not compartmentalize spirituality from your existence. Okay, so that can be very difficult sometimes, but the process of getting into that is to focus on major core belief system, right? The fundamental laws of the universe, not belief systems, the laws of the universe. That's what you're going to discover in the psychedelic experience. Those are going to open up for you. When you go into meditation, you will eventually reach those truths. In hypnotherapy, you're going to revisit lives and a broader picture of who you are, in which these laws of the universe will make themselves known to you. So the sooner you understand those, the more compassionate and easy it will be to flow through these experiences and essentially integrate your spiritual journey into this whole self, which is what we want to do. And just the final topic on that all of this is leading to the ability to love unconditionally, to bring yourself, mind, body, and soul, into a state of neutral observation in which everything is an extension of yourself, and that you are able to process emotional balance and harmony while acknowledging these truths. That's hard for the human, again, because the ego always wants to be protected in this illusion of separation, and at the same time it's affected by that illusion of separation. Okay, so yeah, so love, unconditional love, learning what love is, that's the true integration. So if you can take your psychedelic experience and translate that into your embodiment of unconditional self-love in the present moment, then you got something good out of it. And it's the same for all these other sessions.
That's almost romantic.
Yes, but the love that we're talking about is even more than romantic love. It is unconditional and complete, whole love, love of all.
I don't blame you. I do not blame you. Derek has a question for you. So we got about 4 minutes left. What are your thoughts on Enki and Enlil?
Oh boy, we don't have time for that question. That's a big question. But yeah, so Enki and Enlil, let's see, based on the Book of Enoch. Okay, this is a good reference, and the way I have seen things. These original bloodlines that were creating humanity, Enki and Enlil being the product of the connection of the Anunnaki beings with humanoids in order to create the human race, essentially. One of the main lineages from which humanity is descendant. So what I see is that, of course, we are in some way genetically modified, and we hold within our genetic lineage. For those of you that don't know, you need to get acquainted with the story of Enki and Enlil, and I suggest reading the Book of Enoch, where it discusses how these beings come from the sky and merge with humanity in order to create the human race. And there's a little bit of controversy, translating the Emerald tablets and other scriptures like the Gilgamesh and these stories. But essentially, the idea is that we are hybridized race. We are a hybridized race. We are the embodiment of the gods, or these descendants from these interdimensional realms, and the human form. And so what that makes us essentially is a son of God, making us a small god, a child god, essentially, that manifests into the body in order to cultivate our godlike abilities into that fullness of that creator state. So I guess this is the best way that I would want to address that question. But all in all, the concept of Enki and Enlil, I think it's important for us to understand it, because in that story is essentially the history of the conception of humanity. And in some way, written historically, that we are a product of this hybridized race. And not only talking about the specific Anunnakis, but the entire races, the many, many races that have come together in order to create our human race.
All right, Geraldine, 90 seconds to go here. Big thank you for you returning on Spaced Out Radio for 2024. We are so blessed to have you here on a monthly basis. And I know you love doing it too and reaching out, as you do on your own YouTube channel that is highly successful as well. And that's just Geraldine Orozco. So make sure you go hit subscribe there. What do you love about what you do? Why is this so passionate?
Oh, for me, it makes me feel so much love and joy when I see people transforming themselves, looking at those dark shadow parts of themselves and saying, "Hey, I love myself. I am worthy, and I'm going to make these changes." To me, that is the most beautiful gift, and I feel so honored to be able to witness that when I work with my clients. It brings me life, it brings me joy, and it's a reminder, of what we're here. But it's also a reminder of how much mastery we can have over this physical realm. So that's what I love the most, is seeing transformation of my clients. It's just powerful. And yeah, usually that ends up with them feeling more love and peace and harmony in their life. So it's a huge thing. Yeah.
Well, we love you around here, Geraldine, and we're going to send you that love all the way back before you go close the closet on the shoe closet and then crawl into bed. You're literally one of the best, and we love you here, dear.
Love you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Happy New Year, and I will see you next month. All my love.
Absolutely. Geraldine Orozco, everybody. Coming up next, a man with a nice shoe closet himself, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing, then Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio and his shoe closet. Find out about that as well. Spaced Out Radio's hour number 3 coming up right after this. Stay tuned. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you, Dave. Have a great night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye. There goes Geraldine sailing off into the sunset. Huh. Our hearts. Our hearts. I'll be right back. All right. I'm back. Brad Dwarf, how you doing, man? Did anybody else enjoy that how can I put it? That hustling of the psychic? That was awesome. That was awesome. I'm still kind of buzzed over that. Mm-hmm. All right, about a minute and a half here. As I prepare for the editing. What did I miss? What am I looking for? Should buy a space diaper. Why should I buy a space diaper? Oh, weird. Big thank you to Rat Sass, Mama Catherine, Dragonfly, and Toe Tag. Still looking for my passport. Remind me about this lady. I want to do a Dave 101 on her this week. So remind me of that, guys.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Daedalist. Daedalist is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. Find them on our website. All right, it is that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Cassandra Bravo, a 34-year-old nurse and mother of two, went missing on Thursday, November 5, 2020, while hiking solo on Mount Whitney, which is located on the boundary of Sequoia National Park and Inyo National Forest. According to the National Park Service, Mount Whitney is the most frequently climbed mountain peak in Sierra Nevada. The shortest and most popular route to the summit is from Whitney Portal, which has an elevation of 8,360 feet at the trailhead and 14,494 feet at the summit. Cassandra only intended to hike for the day. Later on Thursday, Cassandra's friends and family were concerned after they had not heard from her. They alerted the Inyo County Sheriff's Office, which found her vehicle parked at Mount Whitney Portal in Inyo National Forest. A GoFundMe page for Cassandra's children said that her boyfriend, father, and several close friends began searching for her on Friday, November 6. They were joined by the Inyo County Search and Rescue Team the following day. Cassandra was found alive down a steep slope of rock on the morning of Saturday, November 7, apparently having slipped and fallen approximately 100 feet and had managed to make her way behind a large tree stump, according to the GoFundMe page. Cassandra spent 2 nights in freezing cold temperatures. According to the Inyo County Sheriff's Office, she was wearing only a tank top and leggings amid freezing temperatures and a wind chill of minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. She was airlifted to a local hospital, but sadly succumbed to her injuries. Those of us that knew Cassandra knew she was a fighter and strong, the GoFundMe page said. We know she fought to stay alive. She was an amazing nurse. She leaves behind her 2 beautiful children whom she lived for. She was an amazing person with a take it or leave it personality that really enjoyed life, the page said. Next, we have Mitzi Sue Susan Clements, Great Smoky Mountains National Park. On Tuesday, September 25, 2018, 53-year-old Mitzi Sue Susan Clements of Ohio went hiking with her daughter on the Forney Ridge Trail in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park on the border of Tennessee and North Carolina. According to the National Park Service, she was last seen around 5 p.m. that day. According to Jelena Campbell, spokesman for the National Park Service, who spoke to WATE-TV Knoxville, the pair were returning from Andrews Bald. The 1.8-mile Andrews Bald Trail is considered to be moderate in difficulty, with an elevation change of around 400 feet from the parking lot up to the point where it descends to the Bald at 5,860 feet elevation. When they were about a quarter mile from Andrews Bald, Mitzi's daughter walked ahead of her for a short while since she was a faster hiker. They made plans to meet at the parking lot, but Mitzi never returned and was reported missing. The search for Mitzi lasted a week and involved 175 trained personnel from 5 states and some 50 organizations, helicopters, drones, and canine units. Any tracks, any sense that the dogs could have picked up, were pretty much erased in those first couple of days because of on and off rain, said spokesperson Campbell. You can't see the person standing next to you. It's that thick. Search parties combed over 500 miles of trails and 10 square miles of off-trail terrain to find Mitzi. Search crews discovered Mitzi's remains on October 2, 2018. According to the National Park Service, the remains were found in a dense foliage area down the steep Huggins Creek drainage in Swain County. The location was approximately 3/4 of a mile south of the Appalachian Trail and 2 miles west of the Klingman's Dome parking area. The autopsy concluded Mitzi passed away from complications of hypothermia due to exposure to adverse environmental conditions. The National Park Service said she wore a light sweater, leggings, nylon workout pants, and a clear rain poncho. The medical examiner's report also listed dehydration as a contributing factor. Mitzi had no other signs of significant trauma, and there were no signs of foul play. We just don't know what happened, spokesman Campbell said. Because it was in the middle of nowhere, there aren't any trails nearby. The closest trail to that would have been the Appalachian Trail. We don't know if she was on that trail. In a statement, Mitzi's family said, I want to specifically thank the National Park Service for their incredible efforts. The cooperation shown between more than 50 agencies was amazing, comforting, and very supportive.
And thank you to Steve Stockton for another great opening to hour number 3 on Among the Missing. If you want more from Steve, go to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Among the Missing. Don't forget to hit subscribe. From the missing to the mysterious, here comes Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio right now. Happy New Year to you, Super Duke. Good to have you back on for 2024, my man. How's it going?
Dave, I feel like I haven't seen you in a year or something. How you been?
Yes. Well, it's been a year long, so I gotta, I've changed a little bit. The beard got longer, the hair got a little bit frizzier, but that's about it, man.
Yeah, I noticed the beard is actually coming in really good. That's looking great, man. You haven't got too much more work to do on that. Santa's going to be running for cover going, oh, Dave's got my butt beat.
I'd like to, gain another inch or 2 on the beard before it comes off. We'll see how it goes. But winter is allegedly arriving finally later this year.
Yeah, I heard that rumor. We've got this weird thing going on here for the last 2 days where we have frigid fog. And I mean like thick London fog. You can see half a block. But yet it's like 17 degrees. So it's turning into hoarfrost on everything.
Yeah. Well, right now we are in the next 7 days. We're scheduled for flurries tomorrow, flurries the next day, flurries throughout the weekend, and then flurries into next week. 14-day. What's the 14-day have? Well, view the full 14 days. Yeah, that's snow right till mid next week. So finally,
Yeah,
finally,
same thing. We don't have any snow on the ground down here unless you go up above 5,000 feet.
we
And I was
don't
just,
even that.
yeah, I was just watching a video from one of your Confederates up there in Canada, who's to the east of you, Swan Lake Bigfoot. And he was showing that he's out at one of the areas he only goes to during the summer, because during the winter there's 3 feet of snow. You can't get there. But this winter it's only like a couple inches. So he goes out to this place he's never at in the winter, leaves them some presents. They immediately start making a racket from across the river. He gets all that recorded and comes back again. This is Swan Lake Bigfoot is the guy who's winning the award for my channel this year for the best field researcher of 2023. So that's why I bring him up. And the winner for last year, actually from a few years before, but that just got his award last year, Kelly Shaw from Rocky Mountain Sasquatch. When we do updates with him, will be the official giving the award out this year to Robert at Swan Lake Bigfoot. And he deserves it. He's been capturing great stuff all year long. If you haven't seen his channel and you like Bigfoot, go watch it.
Love it. Love it. So what do you got for us to kick off the new year there, Super Duke?
Well, I got a name change on my channel because I want to make everything homogenous across all platforms. So it's going to not be World Bigfoot Radio anymore. It's going to be World Bigfoot Central, which it already is on BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. And that will avoid any confusion for people that think that I like actually do a radio show. And I did at one point, but now I do like 90+% visual content. So it doesn't make sense to call it radio anymore. It just kind of confuses new people when they come in. They think it's a podcast or something. And also I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff over on Rumble because FYT. And they've just been treating my channel like crap for a long time, and I'm just not going to put up with it anymore. So I'm going to be doing live streams and stuff over there. There's going to be content that's going to be only there, not on YouTube. So if you're not already subbed to me over on Rumble, you might want to go over there, or you'll be missing out on like part 2 and 3 of the awesome Inevitably Finding Bigfoot documentary, which I'm working on right now. Part 1 already out and awesome. Everybody that's seen it loves it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it 2 or 3 times, memorize it so you can quote the dialogue, all 5 or 6 sentences of it. So anyway, yeah, what do we got?
What do we got?
We got Sasquatch.
I hope so.
From the book Sasquatch True Life Encounters with Legendary Ape Men by Rupert Matthews. And since it's the beginning of the year, we're going back to the beginning of time, Bigfoot-wise, in North America. And he starts out talking about some of the earliest reports and immediately gets things confused. The native people of North America are the source of the oldest stories about the Sasquatch. Correct. As might be expected, each tribe has its own name for this creature. Correct. The Iroquois called it the Wendigo or Witico. Ooh. Are we sure about that? The Micmac called it the Chenoo, which is correct because they have a different name for the other thing that lived there. But the Chenoo might be a name for the Genosqua. And the Penobscot used the name Kiwakawee, which is probably the Gugwe, which is also called Tugawee by the Chippewa in northern Minnesota. Notice the comparatively similar names. So taking all these names of folkloric bipedal creatures and assuming automatically that they're talking about Bigfoot is a big no-no, because a lot of these tribes had more than one bipedal monster that they had a name for, and they weren't talking about the same thing. European folklorists, the first people to come across these stories in any number, used the general term Wendigo, which is important to remember when you're looking for old Bigfoot reports. They called them Wendigos back in the 1700s. However, they treated the tales as little better than fairy stories and concentrated on the fictional element, no matter how much the native people insisted the creatures they were talking about were real. The problem with these earlier reports from a scientific point of view is that they are not only rather vague, but they also contain no details of time or place. They simply talk about the animals as they might talk about a bear or an elk. The creatures are described as being covered all over in fur and looking like a very large human. It's said they avoid humans and live in remote forested areas, where they're active mostly at night. Interestingly, the further away from forested mountains the researchers got, the more the stories they collected about the creature became detached from reality. While the tribes of British Columbia treated the Sasquatch as just another animal, albeit a rather strange and special one that was akin to humans, Ojibwe of the Plains regarded it as a messenger from the gods. The appearance of a Sasquatch was seen as a bad omen, a sign that supernatural trouble was on the way. Maybe they didn't have very good relations with him. The name Sasquatch comes from the writings J.W. Burns, who was a teacher on the Chehalis Indian Reserve in British Columbia. And
I'm just going to correct you on the pronunciation there.
What's that?
Chehalis.
Chehalis? Yeah, okay. Not from up there.
Sorry, that's my territory, man.
Yeah, okay. It's Anglicization of the word properly referred to as rendered as Sasquatch, but the name is now struck. Although it was at first used more widely in Canada than the U.S., many researchers now prefer it to the tabloid-sounding Bigfoot. So far as Burns was concerned, though, he was just collecting folk tales and legends with no basis in reality. Like others working with the indigenous people, he did not take the stories of gigantic hairy man-apes seriously. But Burns soon realized that the tribesmen considered the Sasquatch to be all too real. In May 1938, he was at a local festival when an official from the Canadian government touched on the subject, and there's a much longer version of this, which is actually even better. Of course, the speaker said, Sasquatch are merely imaginary Indian monsters. No white man has ever seen them, and they do not exist. The speaker then found himself pushed out of the way by Chief Flying Eagle of the Halcomelon. The white speaker is wrong, declared Flying Eagle. Some men have seen Sasquatch. Many Indians have seen them. Sasquatch are still all around here. I have spoken. He left out the part about the 3,000 indignant natives standing up and starting to act really angry when Chief Flying Eagle jumped in the way and saved his dumbass. Chief Flying Eagle, however, was right. White men have been reporting sightings of the hairy ape men of the woods for some years. As far back as 1793, the Boston Gazette was reported on a big, hairy, and unidentified creature called Sikekudle, a term that seems to be Anglicization of the Cherokee word, translates as hairy man thing, and usually English it's called Chicky Cuddly. Details of what the creature looked like or what it did are, however, lacking. There's experts on this down in the south that will tell you that's the same thing as what's called a Champé, and they're not Bigfoot. The oldest known contemporary accounts of a Sasquatch sighting come from the 22 September 1818 edition of the Watchman newspaper in New York State. This report states a few days earlier, near Ellisburg, a gentleman of unquestionable veracity saw an animal resembling the wild man of the woods. This would seem to indicate that the supposed wild man of the woods was already a well-known figure of legend or rumor. The creature was described as being like a large man but covered in hair. It walked out of the trees and onto a road a few yards from the witness. Seeing the human, the creature turned and ran off, leaning forwards as it did so. It left footprints behind that were very human-like but very wide at the toes. In 1851, two hunters in Greene County, Arkansas, watched a Sasquatch apparently in the act of trying to catch a calf from a herd of domestic cattle. They described the creature as being an animal bearing the unmistakable likeness of humanity. It was of gigantic stature, the body being covered with hair, and the head with long locks that fairly enveloped the neck and shoulders. As soon as the creature realized that humans were in the vicinity, it stopped chasing the cattle and instead stared at the humans. It then turned and ran off at high speed, leaving behind human-like footprints that were about 13 inches long. The newspaper that reported the incident speculated the creature was a human survivor of an earthquake that had taken place in 1811. It was thought he had taken to an animal-like existence in order to survive, and so had acquired animal-like hair and an appearance to go with it. This, believe it or not, was a common theory in the 19th century. Talk about pixie dust science. In the 1860s, newspapers in Michigan reported that a similar creature had been seen several times around Lake St. Clair region. A little later, in 1869, wild men were reported as having been seen in Iowa, while the Pennsylvania newspapers carried similar stories in 1874, followed by Indiana newspaper reports in 1895 and 1897. One of the most detailed and interesting of these mid-19th century reports comes from a hunter working near Antioch, California in 1869. He had found a good site on which to pitch his camp, but soon noticed that while he was out hunting during the day, something had come into the area. The ashes of his fire had been scattered around, and there were footprints that looked like those of a man, except for their immense size. Curious, the man decided to hide in a patch of brush, which gave him a good view of his camp. After 2 hours, he was rewarded when the mysterious intruder arrived. Quote, the creature was, whatever it was, stood about 5 feet high and disproportionately broad and square at the shoulders, with arms of great length. The legs were very short and the body long. The head was small compared to the rest of the creature and appeared to be set upon his shoulders without a neck. The whole was covered with dark brown and cinnamon-colored hair, quite long on some parts, on the head standing in a shock and growing down to the eyes. After looking around carefully, the creature kicked the embers of the campfire, and then it bent down and picked up a stick, which it whirled around its head, producing a circle of smoke. After the glowing end of the stick had gone out, the beast threw its head back and whistled, after which it picked up a second stick and again swung it around. After about 15 minutes, the creature was, quote, joined by another, a female unmistakably, when both turned and walked past me within 20 yards or so of where I sat and disappeared into the brush. Given the date of the encounter, the writer's reference to the second creature being unmistakably female probably means that it had breasts. So the hunter concluded by saying that he had met one other hunter who had seen the creature and about a dozen more who had seen gigantic human-like footprints. The acceptance of the reality of these creatures by those who spent a lot of time in the forested hills is a feature of these early cases that surfaces again and again. The educated townsfolk who wrote and read the newspapers were amazed by the stories of wild men, but the hunters and trappers were not. Where are we at, Dave?
We got about 2 minutes.
In 1895, a man by the name Riley Smith was picking berries near Winstead, Connecticut. Keep in mind, that ain't anywhere near the Pac West. When his bulldog came dashing out of a patch of woodland, it was whimpering and trying to hide behind him. Smith stood up to see a large man, stark naked and covered with hair all over his body, emerge from the trees. The instant the wild man saw Smith, it gave a terrifying yell, then turned and fled back into the woods. Smith later admitted he had been paralyzed with fear. The part of the details they'd leave out of this is that his dog would just like attack everything. And it not only came running back, it didn't exactly hide behind him, it hid between his legs and whizzed on itself. Meanwhile, these unusual creatures were beginning to be called gorillas in newspaper reports in deference to the newly discovered great apes of the African forest at the time. The idea that the sightings were of men gone wild was gradually dropped in favor of the idea that they were gorillas or similar apes that had somehow escaped from zoos or traveling shows. As a newspaper reported from Arkansas, if this meets the eye of any showman who has lost one of his collection of beasts, he may know where to find it. At present, it is the terror of all women and children in the valley. It cannot be caught, and nobody is willing to shoot it. And that's when you get into the escaped gorilla flap. And it was just constant. Every report for about 20 years was like, oh, did somebody lose a gorilla over here?
Right, because, everybody back in the day had a pet gorilla, just hanging on out.
Oh, God, they were so common. I mean, remember the Beverly Hillbillies? Ellie Mae had one. Granny had to kick it out of the house all the time.
Gee whiz.
Oh, my God.
Sometimes it gets... Super Duke, you hold on right there. I'm trying to figure out this whole gorilla thing. Besides Gorilla Glue, or Gorilla Tape, or Gorilla Monsoon from the old wrestling days.
Wild West gorillas. They had cowboy hats.
You got that right. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Central with us tonight on the Crypted Report. The stories continue with the Wild Man, and that's Super Duke right here on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned. Final half hour of tonight's show comes right after this. All right.
Yeah, I left my gorilla outside in the cold too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got. We'll be getting into Ruby Creek and some of the other early reports, and then we'll do the one where they actually got the name Bigfoot. But
Yeah, Ruby Creek is a weird area, man.
Yep.
Like have you ever driven through there?
No, I haven't been to that area.
Oh,
I've seen the old house from multiple angles, and one of my friends did a show on it where he took the size of the Bigfoot they described and superimposed it behind the house, and it could like peek over the top of it. That thing was freaking huge.
but there is just this weird aura about Ruby Creek that is, I can't explain it. I've never, like, there's no place to stop except if you have to fill up at the gas station. You know, it's right along the Fraser River. But looking back towards the mountains, it's just creepy there. It really is.
Yep. Yeah, I've camped in some pretty creepy places before too. So, believe me, places most people won't camp in. Anyway, Siggy time here.
All right. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. Well, not World Bigfoot Radio anymore. World Bigfoot Central. What a great show tonight. It's good times, people. Good times. Who's on tomorrow night? Robert Shipe. Oh, yeah, we're talking dragons in Marina Del Rey. Dragons. Some serious woo tomorrow night.
Alrighty.
Super Duke. Super Duke.
I got official inevitably finding Bigfoot swag that's going to be out on my swag spot like tomorrow.
Nice.
So if anybody wants it, it's going to make a great coffee mug, baseball hat, t-shirt, movie poster, whatever you want.
Love it. Love it. Okay, we got about a minute here. Jeez, what the hell did you slam there?
Coffee.
Holy cow.
Don't do anything halfway. If I was going to drink beer, it'd be full of beer too. All or nothing.
I don't blame you.
Never attempt a vast project with a half-vast mindset.
Beauty. Beauty.
Yep, documentary's coming along good. Just about got the tail end of it finished off. Have that done tomorrow, then I can start working on the main body of it. It's going to be premiering on the big screen at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference that Dave's going to be at, so he'll get to see it too.
All right. 15 seconds. Thank you, Toe Tag, Dragonfly, Mama Catherine, and Rat Sass for everything. Here we go, everybody. Well, like 5 seconds. All right, here we go. Here we go, the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives. They're at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show, hey, I hope you're enjoying it because it's going to continue right now with Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, hanging on out, talking about the stories around Ruby Creek. Super Duke, good to have you here.
Glad to be here. Finishing up on what we were talking about earlier with the massive gorilla hysteria going on. The last comment's interesting because it was the first appearance in print of a feature of many later Sasquatch sightings. Several hunters have had a Sasquatch square in the sights of their rifle, only to find themselves unwilling to shoot. And I've done interviews with some of them. There's something about the Sasquatch that seems so human that it would make killing one basically akin to murder. Others who have been less squeamish and have blasted away without compunction seem to have done so without much effect. And now from here, it goes into the Battle of Ape Canyon, which is long and everybody's heard it before. And then it goes into the Albert Ostman encounter, which everybody's heard to death. And then it goes into the other one that happened. Now, interestingly, Ostman and this next one were both in the same vicinity. As a matter of fact, if you pinpoint where Ostman was at, he was only a few miles away from where the second report happened 4 years later to a local named Mushalat Harry. At 3 a.m. one autumn morning in 1928, a fur trapper from the Nootka tribe called Mushalat Harry came paddling back to his home on Vancouver Island in his canoe, dressed only in his underwear and suffering from exposure. He was clearly terrified. Because he was babbling, the family sent to the local missionary, Father Anthony. It was Father Anthony who recorded the story and so preserved it for later generations, keeping in mind this is 4 years after the Ostman incident, very close to it. Muchle left his home and headed for the Kanuma River at the head of Tulupana Inlet, where he intended to spend several weeks trapping fur. He paddled some way upriver, then cached his canoe and walked 12 miles inland to where he thought was a promising fur area. What they don't mention here that becomes important later on is that when they say he paddled some way upriver, 45 miles wasn't nearby. After pitching camp, he set his trap line and settled down to do his business, and all seemed set for a routine trip. Again, they don't mention that this guy was basically a fur trapper and spent all of his time in the woods, except coming back to town to sell his furs and get provisions. So one night, he was jerked awake by being roughly picked up, wrapped in his blankets but otherwise clad only in his underwear. He was thrown over the shoulder of a big, hairy, man-like creature. Mushlat had heard stories about the Sasquatch since his childhood, so unlike Ostman, he immediately guessed what was happening. He struggled, but the creature held him firmly. And I should probably mention at this point, there's enough reports of this happening, especially from the natives, that if by some horrific chance you ever find yourself being picked up by a Sasquatch and it's running off with you, don't struggle. You're not going to get away, and they might decide to clamp down harder so you don't get away, and they don't know their own strength, and they'll crush you by accident.
Right.
Mushla estimated that he had been carried for about 3 miles before being dumped on the ground beside a steep hill with a rock overhang. Collecting himself, he looked about and was alarmed to see himself surrounded by about 20 Sasquatch. The bigger males were pushing the females and the young back from him as if to keep them safe. His alarm turned to terror when he saw a pile of bones lying on the ground because they showed obvious signs of having been gnawed. Mushlat was convinced now that he had been brought in as prey and would soon be killed and eaten. He backed nervously against the rock while first one, then another male Sasquatch came up to him. The Sasquatch seemed fascinated by his underwear, which they plucked at repeatedly. Mushlat guessed they thought it was some kind of a loose second skin. After a while, the males lost interest and allowed the females and the young to get closer to the terrified Mushlat. When it was fully light, the majority of the adults then left, presumably to search for food, and Mushlat was left with the young and a couple of adult females. An hour or so after noon, the two females lay down to rest, so he fled. He ran downhill hoping to find a river, which he did. After running downstream for about 15 miles, as fast as his legs could carry him, he found his canoe where he had left it and leaped in and started paddling. There was no sign of pursuit, but he didn't care. He just wanted to get home. And yeah, he paddled nonstop until he got home. So this guy ran 15 miles, then paddled 45. And like at the beginning of the story, he shows up with his long underwear, freaking out and gibbering. Mushlat Harry was confined to bed by Father Anthony, and it was 3 weeks before the missionary would let him leave his home. It was during this time that Mushlat Harry told Father Anthony about his experiences. It was decided that he should keep quiet about the bizarre events, although he discussed it with his friends, and Father Anthony wrote it all down. It's interesting to note that Mushlat Harry never went back to the Canoma River to collect his rifle, equipment, and furs, nor did he ever go into the forests again. What they don't note is within about 2 weeks of him returning, all of his hair turned white.
Weird.
Now we get to the Ruby Creek incident.
There we go.
Another early incident recorded, which remains largely unknown until after 1958, when the word Bigfoot was coined, was the so-called Ruby Creek incident. Again, the witness chose to remain silent, in public for fear of ridicule. It was only when Bigfoot became widely known that the witnesses were willing to be quoted in the press. The incident took place in the summer of 1941, just outside the settlement of Ruby Creek near Agassiz in British Columbia, and involved the Chapmans, a local family living in a small shack, which we have multiple pictures of. Miss Jenny Chapman and her 3 children tended crops of vegetables and fruit around the house, while George Chapman worked on the railways. He was often away for several days on end, so he was absent during this episode. It was about 3 p.m. when the oldest boy, aged 9, came back to the house saying that he had seen a cow-like animal coming down the forested hill near the cabin. He seemed rather worried, so Miss Chapman went to investigate. She saw the head and shoulders of what she took to be a bear moving through the undergrowth, though it seemed to be a very large bear, and was behaving oddly. She called the 2 other children, aged 7 and 5, who came trotting in from the fields. Then the creature stepped out of the underbrush, and Mrs. Chapman saw at once that it was no bear. In fact, it looked like a gigantic man, all covered in dense hair of a brownish ochre color. Judging by a fence post that it was standing close to, she estimated the creature to be about 7.5 feet tall. Its shoulders were broad and its chest was massive, although its head was small in comparison with its huge body, and there did not seem to be a neck. The creature's arms were longer than those of a human, reaching almost to its knees. Its face and palms of its hands were bare of any hair and colored very dark brown or almost black. The creature looked about and then seemed to see Mrs. Chapman and her eldest son. It threw its head back and emitted a cry that sounded like a gurgle that became a loud whistle. After that, it began striding purposely across the field toward the house. It showed no fear of the humans and no hesitation about approaching a house. Now seriously alarmed, Mrs. Chapman sent her elder boy into the house to grab a blanket. She then held the blanket out in front of her and shepherded the two younger children under it so the creature would not be able to see that she had them with her. She later said that she had done this because she thought the creature had seen the younger children go into the house. If it did not see them leave, it might go into the house to look for them rather than follow the family downstream, thus giving Mrs. Chapman and her children a vital few minutes head start. She then led her three children away from the house and down the steep slope into Ruby Creek. Once they were out of the sight of the creature, the four took to their heels and fled downstream toward the village. Once there, they made for Mrs. Chapman's father's house, where they poured out their story, after which they were given food and allowed to rest. Now, 2 hours later, George Chapman came home from work. The first thing he saw was the front door standing wide open and the door to the outhouse smashed, as if by some terrific force. In some loose soil nearby, he saw the unmistakable giant footprints of a wild man of the woods. They don't give the dimensions in here. It was 17 inches. Now alarmed, he called out for his family, but after getting no response, he searched the house. He could find no sign of them, but then he saw the tracks of his wife and the three children heading off the creek. There was no sign of the giant footprints following them, so George relaxed slightly. He followed his family's tracks until he was certain that they had not been followed, then returned to the house. The smashed door to the outhouse was a robust affair designed to frustrate bears, so George was amazed that anything could have destroyed it with such apparent ease. Inside, he found the family's store of food scattered about and half eaten. In particular, a 55-gallon barrel of salt fish had been moved and smashed open, and the contents thrown everywhere. He then set off to track down the intruder. It had walked over a potato field down to the creek and then returned to the hill before going back into the forest from which it had emerged. Chapman guessed it had gone an hour or so before he arrived. He then headed for his father-in-law's house, where he found a shaken family. They returned to the house with Chapman's father-in-law, excuse me, and a brace of rifles. Next day, Chapman's father-in-law stayed at the house with his rifle while Chapman went to work. There was no sign of the Sasquatch that day, but the following evening, the family heard the strange call again and found footprints near their house. It came back for 5 more nights. Then it was heard no more. Spooky encounter.
Totally.
Yeah, and yet you know what a 55-gallon drum of salt fish weighs?
Yeah.
You know, pick that up and smash it open? Sure. Oh my God.
You got that right.
Yeah, well, like you said,
you and I couldn't handle one of those.
Oh hell no! It'd take 2 more people that's stronger than us and us in order to move that. You know, and then like he said, it smashed open the door on the thing that was made grizzly proof. And if you see what grizzlies can do, they're like a friggin' bulldozer by themselves, and that didn't stop this whatever it was. So, meanwhile, the less spectacular sightings continued unabated. In 1936, a couple from the Aleut tribe came back from working the farm to their home near Lake Iliamna in Alaska to find their 8-year-old daughter in a state of some alarm. The girl was accustomed to being left at home and knew all about bears and other local wildlife. She said that while she had been playing on the kitchen floor, she heard movement outside. Peering out, she had seen 3 very tall, hairy men walking around the barn. The creatures walked upright, just like humans, and were covered in reddish-brown hair. Now, 2 of them headed for the garbage dump and began rooting about as if looking for food, while the third headed for the open door of the cabin. The creatures, the girl said, seemed to be communicating by using soft whistling noises. Cowering back as the creatures approached, the girl began to be scared. The giant figure reached the doorway, put its hand on the door lintel, and bent down to peer inside. The door is about 5.5 feet tall, so the girl later estimated that the creature must have been about 7 feet tall. As the creature looked in, a powerful stank invaded the room, an offensive smell like animal musk. Then a loud whistling call came from outside, at which the creature stepped back from the door, stood upright, and looked around. It then whistled in answer before turning and walking off. A few minutes later, the girl's parents arrived. Presumably, it had been their approach that had caused the creatures to leave. Now, in 1937, Jane Patterson set out to pick rhubarb in the run wild garden of an abandoned shack near her home in Bridesville, British Columbia. Hey, Dave, that's where you live, British Columbia.
That's where I live.
She, you knew you couldn't get away without a cryptid report mentioning your home area.
Of course not. I love it.
She looked around a bush to find a large hairy animal sitting on the ground about 15 feet away from her. It was busily engaged in picking rhubarb. The creature stood up, revealing itself to be a hair-covered human-like creature of massive bulk that stood about 6 feet tall. "Oh, hello," said Miss Patterson in surprise. The creature blinked at her. She backed off slowly and quietly while the creature watched her. Then, as soon as she was out of sight of it, she fled. In 1939, a prospector named Burns Yeomans was near Harrison Lake, British Columbia. Man, there's a lot of people named Burns up there. What the hell's up with that, Dave?
Boo earns.
Boo earns.
Mr. Burns, Smithers, go catch the Sasquatch.
When he saw a group of 5 creatures in a clearing about 1,000 yards away, he described the beasts as being big and hairy like bears, but shaped more like massive humans. 2 of the creatures were wrestling with each other while the other watched. Intrigued, Yeoman sat down to watch. I would too. The wrestling continued for about half an hour until one of the wrestlers appeared to give up, at which point the creatures walked off into the woods. 2 years later, Clayton Mack and the Bella Coola tribe of British Columbia was in a boat heading up the coast toward Quatna to do some fishing. He said that he thought what he thought was a bear. He saw what he thought was a bear standing on its hind legs on the beach. There was something a bit odd about the bear, so Mac turned his boat towards it. When he was about 400 yards offshore, the creature turned to look at him. It was then that Mac realized that whatever the creature was, it was no bear. So he studied it more closely. He said it was about 8 feet tall and had broad shoulders and a smallish head and no obvious neck. The creature then turned and strode off on 2 legs toward the trees that came down very close to the water's edge. As it reached the tree line, the creature turned again, twisting its head around to gaze briefly at Mac. Then it entered the trees and vanished from sight. Next up, the more famous William Rowe's account. You know all about the William Rowe account, right, Dave?
No, fill me in.
Okay, well, let me tell you about it. The sighting by William Rowe way back in 1955, during the era of the Big Bopper and all that, remains a classic for many reasons. Not only was Rowe an unimpeachable witness who was widely known to be trustworthy and reliable, but his report included a wealth of detail that is rarely found. Most people who encounter a Sasquatch are so surprised by the sudden confrontation that they fail to note details, but not so with Rowe. At the time of his encounter with the Sasquatch, Rowe was a middle-aged man living in Alberta, Canada. Hey, Canada, that's where you live, Dave.
Really?
It's true. It's true. He had been born in the backwoods of Michigan and had been familiar with North American wildlife from birth. After he married, he spent some years in Canada working as a trapper and hunter, and it was this that brought him to the area around Tête Jean Caché, Alberta, probably mispronounced that, in October 1955. After a year earlier, he had shot a magnificent black bear on nearby Mica Mountain, but this particular trip was more of a reconnaissance. He carried his hunting rifle with him, but he was not really looking for a kill. Rowe was alone and on foot, and as he approached an old abandoned mine that he knew about, by his own account, he had decided to have a poke around the workings just to pass the time of day. It was about 3 p.m. He was just stepping out into the clearing when he saw what he at first took to be a grizzly bear amongst the bushes on the far side, and this guy's alone, remember. With the practiced ease of a hunter, Rose silently stepped back into cover and squatted down to watch. Very wise. At first, he could see only the top of the creature's head, then a furry shoulder as it moved about in the bushes. When the creature emerged into the clearing and stood up, it was immediately obvious it was not a bear. Roe at first took it to be a huge man in a fur coat. Then he thought that perhaps it was an actor dressed up as a gorilla for a movie, though he had not heard of any movie company at work in the area. But as the creature ambled gently across the clearing towards him, Roe dismissed this idea because it was bigger than any man he had ever seen, and it moved in a peculiar way. The creature got to within 20 feet of Roe before it stopped. It then squatted down on its haunches and began to eat leaves off a nearby bush. After a minute or two, the beast seemed to suddenly catch Roe's scent. It looked around, then fixed its eyes on his before shuffling back 4 steps and then standing up. It walked off rapidly, glancing back over its shoulder at the bush where Roe sat hidden. He raised his rifle to shoot what he now realized would be a very valuable specimen, but as the creature looked back at him, he saw a spark of humanity in its eyes. He suddenly felt that killing the creature would be a lot more like murder, so he just let it go. The creature stopped on the far side of the clearing, tipped its head back, and let rip with a call that was half laugh and half howl, and then vanished into the woods. Roe saw it a few minutes later as it crossed a ridge about 200 yards distant, and again it emitted its odd call and then was gone for good. Now, according to Roe's written account, the Sasquatch stood well over 6 feet tall, had shoulders about 3 feet across. He guessed its weight at around 400 pounds, took it to be a female because it had a pair of large breasts and no obvious external penis. Its body fell straight from the shoulders to the hips, not curving at all like a human body does, and it was covered with dark brown fur almost an inch or so long. Arms were heavily muscled and long in proportion, reaching almost to the knees, and the feet were large, about 5 inches across. They had a gray-brown skin on the undersides. The creature put its heel down first when it walked, but it seemed to glide along without the up and down bobbing of a human stride. And that's very characteristic of everybody that's actually seen one. It's one of the things they notice if they see it moving around. They don't bob up and down, they just seem to glide. Creature's head was higher at the back than at the front, nose was broad and flat, while lips and chin jutted forward. Its ears were the same shape as those of a human, but its eyes were small and black, more like those of a bear. The skin around the eyes and mouth was bare of hair, and the face was capable of expression. When it saw Roe, the creature looked so amazed that Roe could not help but grin. All these physical features have been reported time and again by those who claim to have seen the Sasquatch. And so keep in mind, every single one of these reports so far has been before the word Bigfoot was coined.
I couldn't agree more.
How much time we got, Dave?
We got no time left. The ending is perfectly.
Great place to end it, but we'll pick it up where we left off next time.
We will talk to you next week, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Central. Thank you for a great cryptid report. As we have Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter or X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. There we go, Super.
I have so much fun reading these Reader's Digest abridged versions of reports that I know basically by heart and just being able to fill in the details out of memory. It's like, man, have I heard these reports way too many times. I know all the details. I memorized all of them.
Oh, you do such a great job, though.
Thanks, buddy.
Well,
Yeah,
you're
people over on my channel enjoy hearing them too. There's a bunch of them that wish they could be here live, but it's just too late for them. So they can, knowing that they can catch it later on, they really enjoy it.
Good. I'm glad we're doing that.
Yipper. Well, it gets more people knowing who you are too, especially when you show up at that Bigfoot conference next spring. And they'll be like, oh, it's that Dave Scott guy that was on your show all the time.
He's one hairy bastard.
No, technically I was on his show all the time, but he was letting me replay them on my channel.
Dave Scott there, he's one hairy Canadian. Let me leave you me.
Yeah, you'll fit right in.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good.
It's going to be fun.
Yep. We're going to have a blast, man. But time for me to say goodnight as I got to get the show edited and everything like that. And Super Dookie, I know you got to get going here too, my man.
I got editing to do. So, yeah. Never ending.
Yeah.
But love all you guys. I'll see you next week. Everybody be nice. And if you want a couple good laps, go check out Dogman UK and what's the other channel? Oh, Red Creek Mafia. They've been like doing this troll extermination thing lately, and they're all ganging up on these troll channels and just curb stomping them. And it's freaking hilarious. Go watch it.
Yeah.
Love you guys. See you later.
Take care, Super. All right. Thank you tonight to Radsask, Mama Catherine, Dragonfly, and Toe Tag. Tomorrow night, dragons. Real dragons. Robert Shipey will be here. And I'm going to go work in the quiet here, guys. Thank you for showing on up. We'll talk soon, okay? Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.